Today, we'll hear from Aleisha about her Norwegian Disney cruise. That's coming up on this episode 374 of WW Prep. Welcome to WW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips. I'm your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 374. So today is another trip report. I feel like we've had a string of reports from families traveling internationally with their kids that are between 5 and 12 years old. And I find it very interesting, the different methods that could be used. We had the one that went to Tokyo and they planned all elements on their own. We had the ABD, and today we have a Disney cruise, which before the Disney cruise had some elements planned on their own. So if there are those of you with kids that are ready to travel internationally, hopefully these different trip reports have given you some ideas on how to do that. Before we get into my chats with Aleisha, just a reminder to follow on social media, and also a reminder that these episodes are on the website in the podcast finder. So if later on you find that you want to go back and look at the episode numbers that are Disney Cruise Line ones, for instance, they are categorized in that way. They are categorized by Disney World Resort, by month, by travel group, like adults only or toddlers, that kind of thing. So just make sure you use that as a reference. You can always go to the website and click podcast at the top, and then all of the information will be right there. I think that is it now. Here are my chats with Aleisha. Welcome to podcast, Aleisha.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited and a little bit nervous. So I love the trip report. So hopefully I do a good job for everybody else.
Yes, you will. I know everybody, I think, is a little bit nervous because not everyone gets recorded, especially talking about travel and stuff. But we are talking on Wednesday, August 9th, and I understand you have a trip coming up. Where are you headed?
We are headed on a Disney cruise, but a Disney cruise that is going from Southampton in England to the Norwegian fjord.
Oh, okay. I am from England to Norwegian fjords.
Yes.
So is this one promoted as a Frozen themed cruise?
No, not really, I don't think. There's been like tons of chatter in the Facebook group about whether we're not getting a pirate night, but whether we're getting a Frozen night, and even that doesn't seem certain. So
that is interesting because it seems like a no-brainer. Okay, so I am going to assume you don't live in England. How did you decide on this?
Well, I'm sure we were actually supposed to take the Disney Alaska cruise in 2020. And then that obviously was canceled. And then we were looking at rebooking. At this point, we were like, do we want to go to Alaska? Or do we want to try something a bit more adventurous? Our kids are a bit older now, so maybe an international trip would be good. And when I was looking at the Alaska cruise, a lot of the excursions had age cutoffs that excluded my youngest. So thought at this point now, we might as well just wait till he's old enough to do everything we want to do.
Okay, so you said, let's go to England and start our cruise there.
Yeah, random.
No, it's exciting. What are your trip dates? I assume there's some time before the cruise starts.
Yes, so we are flying out of Vancouver on Saturday, August 12th, and we land in London. It's 2:00 in the afternoon on Sunday, August 13th.
Can we just pause for a second? Do you live in Vancouver?
In the suburbs, yeah.
Okay, because I fell in love with Vancouver when we went on our Alaskan cruise just a few months ago. I'm absolutely jealous that you get to live there. But that also might explain why you think this is a lot more adventurous, because if you took the Alaskan cruise, you would be taking it right out of your own city.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas to me, it did feel pretty adventurous because we had to fly to Canada and then go up to Alaska from there.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the actual dates of the cruise?
The cruise dates are Saturday, August 19th to Saturday, August 26th.
Okay. So you have a lot of time before the cruise.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So there's some stuff to talk about there. And you've mentioned your children. Who all is going on this?
So the trip is myself and my husband, John, and then my two kids, Charlotte is 10 and William is 7.
Okay. Have they ever traveled to Europe?
No, this is our first international trip as a family. We've gone to Hawaii and gone to Florida, which is a bit of a trek from Vancouver, but this is our first overseas trip.
Okay, so you told us that you're flying to England on the 12th, but you land on the 13th.
Yeah.
And then what are you doing from this point until the next several days before your cruise?
So we have 4 nights in London, and then we're going to Weymouth, which is a town on like the south coast of England that was actually recommended from 2 of the patrons that are in England, gave me some good advice about where to go for a little side trip. So Tom recommended that. So we're doing 2 nights.
I was going to say, is that Tom and Kay by chance?
Yes, they gave me a lot of helpful advice, which was super nice. So we settled on Weymouth. We're spending 2 nights in Weymouth. And then on the Saturday morning, we're going to take the train from Weymouth to Southampton. It's only about an hour and a half, and then board the cruise ship from there.
Okay. I'm looking at my calendar to see what the dates are, because I had written in my notes just the August 12th, August 13th. So I don't know the days of the week here. But your actual cruise starts on Saturday. And you said you're in London for 4 nights and before you move to Weymouth. So are you in Weymouth starting the 16th?
Oh,
something like that?
Yes. Thursday, August 17th, we take the train from London to Weymouth. And then we're staying this Thursday night, the Friday night, and then taking the train to Southampton on the Saturday, the 19th in the morning to get on the cruise.
Okay, so the 19th is you're getting to the cruise by train. One of the few people we've ever had on here that could say that. Train to the cruise. All right. Now, let's talk about the London portion of your trip. What are some of your must-dos that you're hoping for that part?
So when we land, I know I want to do something that afternoon to try help with the jet lag. So my goal is everyone's going to sleep on the plane. And then when we get there, we're going to just go out and do something. I'm thinking maybe the London Eye, but I'm less that tentative because I'm not really sure how everyone will be. And then on the Monday, the first sort of full day we're in London, we have tickets booked for the Natural History Museum. And they have a special dinosaur exhibit. My youngest is a really big dinosaur fan. And then we have tea booked at the Ampersand Hotel. They do like a science-themed tea for kids. It's right next to the Natural History Museum. So we have that booked. And then I've left the afternoon free to see how everyone's doing, if we need naps or what. I really don't know how we're going to be with the time change. We may try and do one of those hop-on, hop-off bus tours at that point. I don't know yet. I went with the plan one thing a day and then leave some free time with a list of things that we may or may not do depending on how everybody is. On the Tuesday, we have tickets booked for the British Museum. And we actually booked a private tour of the British Museum through a Context travel tour group. Hoping that would help pique our kids' interest. My kids are really my oldest daughter's into Percy Jackson. I don't know if Percy Jackson, the book series. It's all about Greek mythology and they're interested in Greek mythology. So hopefully they can do a tour for us that kind of focuses on that. Tries to help.
Is that why you did a private option?
Yeah, we're hoping that then they could tailor it to what we want to see and help engage the kids a little bit. The kids might be more interested if they have somebody kind of narrating and stuff rather than just walking around with us.
Yeah. What else you got in London?
On Wednesday, the 19th, we're doing the Harry Potter studio tour.
On which day?
Oh, sorry. Wednesday, the 16th. Sorry.
Okay. Harry Potter tour.
Yeah. The Harry Potter studio tour.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the 9 a.m. tickets booked, which is when they're open. And we're going to take the train there. We didn't book one. Like you can book through tour companies where you have the bus and everything. We just booked the tickets ourselves and we're going to take the train. Mm-hmm. So we can spend as long as we want. And then that night, actually, we're decided to do a little kid parent date night. So I'm taking William, my son, to see The Lion King, and then my husband's taking my daughter to see Wicked.
Nice. Splitting up to do different shows.
Yeah, they were each interested in seeing something different and tried to convince each of them to change their minds. And then we thought, we're having 2 weeks all together. Let's just split up and everyone do the one thing they really wanted to see.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I think that is fun. Okay. I think you have another day, Friday, August 18th in London.
Thursday the 17th.
That was on Thursday the 17th. Do you have something planned for Friday the 18th?
No, sorry. All the studio tour and the shows were on Wednesday the 16th. On Thursday the 17th, we're doing the Tower of London in the morning, and then we're taking the train in the afternoon to Weymouth.
Okay. I had that written down and didn't see it here. Got it. Okay. So now we're in Weymouth.
Yes.
What do you plan to do there?
The first night we get there, kind of nothing. Hopefully just wander around the town and get some ice cream, or it looks like a cute little seaside town, get some dinner, fish and chips, hopefully that kind of thing. And then on Friday, August 18th, we rented a car actually for the day, which is a little bit of a pain because the car rental branch in Weymouth is closed. So we have to get it from the next nearest town, which I think is only about 10 or 15 minutes away. But I think my husband will take a cab there, pick up the car, and then drive back and pick us all up at the hotel.
And what are you going to do when you have the car?
That area of England is known as the Jurassic Coast. So I think there's lots of fossils and things like that there. So we looked at just a bunch of different destinations. There's like beach walk and like a little town that you can walk down to and explore the beaches. And there's a place where you can see dinosaur footprints, and there's a museum where you can see some fossils. So we're just going to drive around and do some stops and have more of an outdoor day. Yeah, my kids, we haven't really done a big city vacation with them before. So not sure. I thought it would be nice to do a day where we get some outdoor time and some fresh air and some more kind of free stuff.
All right. And then the next day you take a train to the cruise, right?
Yeah. Then Saturday morning, we're taking the train from Weymouth to Southampton.
All right. Was there anything different about this cruise than others, like in terms of online check-in? Or I'm not familiar with the rules in other places.
I don't really know. This is the first time actually any of us have ever done a cruise.
Okay.
This is our first cruise, our first Disney cruise. We did the online check-in because this is our first cruise. I think it was 30 days in advance. And actually everything with the online check-in went pretty smooth. We didn't get a port arrival time until 12:45, I think, because the earlier times were obviously gone. But everything went fine. I don't know if we had to submit our passport pictures and our photos and everything like that, but it all went pretty smooth and easy.
Okay. Yeah. That all sounds pretty normal to me. So you are going to be at the cruise terminal and your boarding time, you said, is 12:45?
Yeah. We're taking the train at 9 a.m. So we're going to be there to the train station about 2 hours early. And it's not very far from the train station to the port. I think it's like a 3 or 4 minute cab ride or Uber ride. We're just going to kind of play it by ear whether or not we just find somewhere to sit and have a snack and coffee, or if we want to try and actually go to a playground or do a little shopping in Weymouth or something, in Southampton before we go to the cruise ship terminal.
Okay. Can you walk us through the cruise party and ship as far as what are your stops, any excursions or onboard activities that you are planning to do?
Yes. Our first day is a Saturday. And then the Sunday, we have a port day in Rotterdam. It was supposed to be Amsterdam. And then they changed it to Rotterdam, although they changed it quite a while ago, not just recently, because I think Amsterdam is shut to cruise ships. We knew about this quite a while ago. And that day, we were hoping to book the port adventure through Disney. And they had an Amsterdam on your own port adventure, where it's just like a bus trip in Amsterdam. but unfortunately it was sold out. A lot of the excursions were sold out by the time we were able to book. So we have not booked that as of yet, but we have tickets for the Van Gogh Museum. So we're planning to take the train into Amsterdam ourselves to do that. We're going to check when we board if any spots have come available to do the Disney Best.
Okay. That will be fun. What else?
So that's that day. Actually, that morning, our port time is until 11 o'clock. That morning, I have a massage booked at the spa. So that's it. Then the next day, actually, I'm just going to open my Disney Cruise Line app. I was using the app called TripIt to do most of my planning for London, but the Disney stuff shows up better on the Disney app.
Now, I do love TripIt, but I wish the Disney stuff worked just as well over there.
Yeah, it would be nice if it all loaded in, but it didn't. The cruise ports did, though, actually, when I looked at it, but like all the activities and things like that didn't load. So the next day is a day at sea, and I don't think we have anything booked that day. I'm just double checking. No. There was a couple of things I wanted. I wanted to do the sports simulator for my youngest, but that was booked as well by the time we were able to book those things because of being first-time cruisers.
But and you may already know this, but when you get on the ship, I would head right to guest services and see if they happen to have any openings, because sometimes that happens.
Yes, that's my plan. I'm listening to your advice from other trip reports. That'll be our first stop to see if there's any spots on the port adventure that we wanted and some of those things.
Yeah. So you said this is a day at sea. So I'm curious what your plan is with the family. Are you guys planning to take the kids club and do stuff on your own? Are you planning to all stay together? What is your thought?
I think it's a bit play it by ear. I think we're going to take the kids to the kids club on the first day and see how they like it. We went to Aulani at spring break this year, just for a couple days we did a couple days there and then went to the Big Island. And our kids were a bit meh on the kids club there. They didn't really want to go, and then they weren't really that enthused about it and said it was boring. But the cruise ship looks very different and very much more fun. So I'm hoping that they'll generate some enthusiasm for it once they see it at the open house on the first day.
That would be great, because then you can do a mix of things. Adults only, whole families together.
Yeah, but I think looks like there's so much stuff to do. Like, we want to see the shows. Like, my kids are excited to play basketball. They're excited about ice cream. They want to do the Midship Detective Agency. My youngest wants to meet Donald Duck and see some of the characters. So I don't think we're going to have any shortage of things to do.
Yeah, I predict you will not. No matter what happens with the kids' clubs, I predict you will not. So Tuesday, August 22nd, is that another port day?
August 22nd, yeah, is a port day. And I do not know how to pronounce all these Norwegian towns properly. So I apologize to anyone Norwegian who's listening to this. It's Jolden, Norway. And that's a relatively short port time. It's only 10 to 4:45. This is the only port that we actually have something booked through Disney. We have the Ernstine Church excursion booked in the afternoon at 2:00. Our plan is hopefully to get off at when the ship docks, and then we're going to there's like a hike just through the town that you can get to for walking from the ship, and we're going to do that to the viewpoint, and then we'll come back, then grab some lunch, and then do our excursion.
Okay. That sounds fun. I do think I'm glad you're mentioning the port times, because that does make a huge difference. Some days you might have 12 hours. Some days you might have 6, like this day is a 6-hour day.
Yeah, it's pretty short time. So we'll see. And that night, actually, my husband and I have Palo dinner booked. We could not get any of the brunches by the time we were able to book things. So I booked Palo dinner this night, and I booked Remy dinner the other night, and we're going to decide sometime before the cruise starts which one we're going to keep. We're probably not going to do both.
Speaking of dinner, which dining rotation are you on most the other nights?
The early dining rotation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wednesday, August 23rd?
So Wednesday, August 23rd, our port is Nordfjord, I think. And that one's a bit longer. It's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. That one is we booked a car rental, actually. So there's a car rental place right at the port that we booked.
Where are you going to head when you get your car?
Our plan is there was 2 port excursions through Disney that we like the looks of. One is the Brookstall Glacier, and the other one is the Lowen Skylift, which is like a gondola. And so we're hoping to do both. We should have time to do both if we're not doing the port excursions. So we're going to head to the glacier first, and then we're going to head to the Skylift on the way back.
That's a fun idea, to look at the excursions and then figure out how to DIY it.
Yeah, actually, a lot of the Disney excursions, and I don't mean to sound negative about this, but a lot of them didn't really appeal to us. There was a lot of them were like, get in a bus and drive somewhere and then get out for 10 minutes and then drive somewhere else and then get out for 10 minutes and then drive somewhere else, which doesn't really appeal to either the adults or the children in our family, like just to spend that much time driving and not to do much. So hopefully we've got a good balance with what we've done.
Yeah, I find it frustrating when their descriptions are so vague that you don't even quite know what is involved. So,
yes, this was 100% my other problem. I was like, I need my WGW press school resources to be able to read in detail exactly what this is. And Disney would just say, yeah, it was all very vague. Have some time here, wander, but reading between the lines sounded a lot like drive here for 2 hours and then look in the gift shop and then drive back.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not what it is, but they were really not very clear on the detail.
Yeah. Now you're going to do it your way in your rental car. What is Thursday, August 24th?
That is another port bay. That was the other port that changed for us. It was supposed to be Stavanger, and it got changed to Jarvik, which I think is essentially just a very small port only. And it's about, I think, a 15-minute cab ride from Stavanger.
Oh, okay. So you're just pulling in a slightly different spot, but you can probably have access to the same activities.
Yes, although Disney Port Adventures didn't include any just transportation. So that was a big thing in our cruise group that people were trying to sort out because most people wanted to go into Stavanger. But if you did a port adventure, it was like a bus there and a bus back, but you might only have 2 or 3 hours there. And we have a 12-hour port day that day. What we're doing there is actually we booked a cab in advance for 8:30 to take us into Stavanger. And then we're doing a riverboat tour. The riverboat tour through Disney had a minimum age of 8. But when I booked it direct through the company, it had a minimum age of 6. So my youngest is 7. So that was perfect. So
what kind of boat tour did you say?
It's a riverboat. I never heard of this until now. It's like these boats that go really fast, but I think you sit. There's this thing that sticks up and you almost sit straddling it on the boat.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear about it and see pictures because I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I think you go really fast down the fjords. It was something that was offered in a couple of the ports that we went to, but this is the one where we're going to do it. The other port, Jolden that I mentioned, has one too, but unfortunately, I think Disney booked all the spots for that one. And it was the same thing that Disney's minimum age was 8. Although the company's minimum age was 6, but there was no spots available to book not through Disney. So we're doing that and Stavanger. And then we're probably just going to go and wander around in the town and stuff. There's some things that look interesting. There's a Kenny Museum and just cute streets, and we'll get some lunch and explore ourselves. And then we have a cab booked to take us back to the port at 5:30, even though, I think the time is 8 p.m. that you have to be on board.
Right. Okay. We're getting towards the end of the cruise. What is Friday, August 25th?
Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned on the last day, the 24th, that's when we have Remy booked. So I'm not sure which one we're going to keep.
Okay.
But Palace is Remy.
Okay.
And then, day 7 is a day at sea again. So that morning we have the royal gathering booked at 9. And then my daughter has Bippity Boppity Boutique booked at 11:30.
11:30.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish those were switched.
I know. It would have been really nice to do that, but that was the best we could. That was the best we could get with Bippity Boppity Boutique times because all the times to book are based on your Disney cruise status. By the time we could book things, we had to just take what we could get.
Guess you'll just have to keep going on Disney cruises.
Yeah, I got nothing to my husband. I'm like, I need to be more now.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this at sea day?
No, those are the only things that we have scheduled. Yeah.
Okay. And then Saturday is when you return back to where you started.
Yes.
All right. And then are you heading home right away or what's the plan?
Yes, we actually have the Disney Cruise Line transfers booked for the bus back to Heathrow. And then we fly out of Heathrow, I think around 2:30 or 3 o'clock that afternoon back to Vancouver.
All right. That is going to be a nice long trip. I can't wait to hear about so many things. Like it's your first cruise, definitely your first Disney cruise. Got so many experiences in England and then Norway. I'm really excited for your family.
I'm really excited too. I'm a little bit worried with all the travel issues that have been going on. I'm already panicking about our flight getting canceled on Saturday, but hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly. And then once we're there, it's going to be great.
Yes, just got to get there.
Yeah.
And then you'll be fine. Okay. I can't wait to talk to you when you get back to see how it all worked out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Thanks, Aleisha. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome back from your trip, Aleisha.
Thank you.
All right. So we're talking on Tuesday, August 29th. And the last day of your trip was the 26th. So you've been back a few days. And yes. How did it go?
Overall, went great. As expected with any 2-week-long vacation with multiple family members, there was some ups and downs, but overall great. We're still a little bit jet lagged, but we're getting there.
All right. We have a lot to talk through. Let's start with the beginning of your trip, which you expected to fly to England from Vancouver August 12th and land in London on August 13th.
Yeah, and everything went great with our flight. We actually ended up deciding to do carry-on luggage only. So we managed to pack for a family of 4 for 2 weeks and carry-on bags only.
I can't do that for a weekend trip to Nashville. Like, I don't understand how you do that. That's amazing.
I feel like it's a bit of a lifetime achievement. This. I make everyone wear their biggest pair of shoes and like they're putting on the plane. Luckily, my kids are still at the stage where their clothes are pretty small. So I could do all their stuff in their suitcases, plus like the toiletries for the family and stuff. So it worked out okay. And I was worried about our flights because there'd been so much upheaval with flights and everything. But actually, both of our flights were like perfect, on time, no issues. They do this thing on Air Canada where if they haven't filled the higher levels, they send you an email saying you can bid on an upgrade. So we could not afford to upgrade all the way to first class and like a lot of flat seats, but we bid to upgrade to premium economy for the flight over there since it was overnight. And that was nice.
All right. So you're in your premium economy seats on your way to London. You landed the 13th of August.
Yeah. Not much sleep was had on the plane, but I had a plan that when we got there, we were going to just convert to London time. And so because we only had carry-on luggage, it made things really easy with travel and stuff. So we just took the tube direct from the airport to the train to the Liverpool station, which was like 2-minute walk from our hotel, walk to our hotel. So it was cheap and easy. We checked our bags in and then we were like, let's go do something. So we had tentatively thought about the London Eye. So we raced across London to try and get to the London Eye because we had thought based on the website that it was closing early, but it was not. So that ended up not being an issue. But as soon as we got there, we were like, looked at the lineup and we're like, it's not so bad. We'll just go buy tickets. And then we saw there was a whole other lineup like across the street that they were funneling people into. And then being the good Disney fans we are, we were like, the fast track lane. Excellent. So we did the fast track lane and did the London Eye, which was super nice. Just, a good way to see things. I feel anyone who's familiar with Disney will be familiar with any major tourist attraction in any major city. It's all the same. There's the option to pay more to skip lines or get things faster. There's the exit through the gift shop. There's the photo opportunities that they charge you lots and lots of money for the photos for. It's all there's the lines and which it's just all very familiar. So we did that. And then there's a cute playground there. We played and then there's an Uber boat in London.
Nice.
Which is very fun that you can take down the river. So just novel. We took that kind of back to the stop that would be close to our hotel. Just wandered back, got dinner and got back to the hotel around, I think 8 or 8:30. We all took the melatonin and went to bed. And actually everyone slept all the way through to the next morning. So I feel like on the way there, jet lag wasn't really a thing for us. The kids were pretty tired that day because they hadn't really slept much on the plane. So it was a bit of an effort getting through that day. But then we were just super easily converted and we were on England time right away.
Good. And it sounds like you kept busy, so you stayed awake.
Yes. Yeah. And I was actually amazed. I think overall the kids did really well with that. I was worried about it and it went great. I could not have asked for them to do better.
So the next day was a day in London with a museum, ampersand hotel tea, maybe a hop on, hop off bus tour. How much of that did you end up doing?
We did most of it. So we had breakfast at our hotel. Our hotel had the most amazing buffet breakfast I've ever seen. It was just like pastries and charcuterie and hot food. And
Did you say the name of your hotel?
we stayed at the Andaz Hyatt Liverpool station. They have a new rule in London where you're not allowed more than 3 people in a hotel room for fire ordinances, they say, but I think it's really partially a money thing. So our family of 4 had to get a family suite, which was pricier than I would have liked to spend for a hotel, but it was actually, especially with the jet lag and stuff, it worked really well because the kids had 2 twin beds. It was basically 2 adjoining rooms, but they made up one with 2 twin beds, and then my husband and I had a king in the other room.
Nice.
Because everyone had their own space. I think it allowed sleep to be better than when you're all crammed in one room and as soon as somebody wakes up, everybody's awake and stuff. And then we took the tube to the Natural History Museum. That's basically how we got around in London, was we took the tube everywhere. It was super fast, super convenient. You don't have to buy passes. You just tap your card or Apple Watch. And it's what we use, like just our Apple Watches or your phone to get in. You tap to get out. You don't need anything. It's very easy. And we went to Natural History Museum and there was a special dinosaur exhibit and we toured the Natural History Museum. It was a very busy, as one would expect in a major city on summer vacation. Felt like the whole museum was one big lineup, but they have some pretty amazing things there. And then we went to the tea, which was very close to the museum. I'm like you in Disney, I'm all about being where they are. So this was like, we just walked from the museum to the hotel and the tea was very fun, especially for the kids. They had a little science experiment, like make your own lemonade, and they had dry ice and the rocket ship themed things. And it was fun. So we did that. And then we had thought about doing the hop on, hop off bus tour. And then we looked at that. And then actually Tom from the patron group had sent me a message saying that his family was looking at this terrible Thames riverboat tour, which is like, there's doing this thing and it was on a boat. So we decided to hop down and do that. The kids preferred that over the bus tour at that point. So we did that.
Wait, did you say terrible?
Yeah, it's called the Terrible Thames.
Oh, that's what it's called. I thought you were describing the thing as terrible. I was like, why did you do it if it was terrible?
No, that was the name of it.
I got it. Capital T.
Yeah, it's like telling the history of things on the river.
Got it.
It's very potty humor oriented. So the kid thought it was hilarious. And it was fine for my husband and I. It was a nice thing to do. You can see a lot from the river. So we did all of that. And then, I took a lot of notes. Yeah, then we just went back to the hotel and kind of looked up some of the things we learned about on the boat tour because they talked very quickly. And so my kids wanted to watch some videos about Guy Fawkes and stuff and kind of learn a little bit more about it. So we did that. And then we went to a market that was close to our hotel, like a food market, for dinner. And then we watched a movie and went to bed.
History is so much more interesting when you can be up close and see it and hear about it in the place where it happens. So I
Yeah.
imagine your kids learn some things.
Yeah, and then we found the BBC had like a series of videos for kids about different things. We'd heard about the London fire, so we watched about that, and then the Guy Fawkes and stuff. Yeah, they were good age. They were like interested in learning about things and stuff.
Okay. You told us in your trip plan that Tuesday, August 15th, you're going to a British museum.
Yes, we did. We went to the British Museum. Same thing, took the tube from our hotel. We had actually booked a guided tour of the British Museum, which was a 3-hour long guided tour. We only lasted about 2.5 before we just decided to call it quits. The kids were a bit done at that point. The guided tour was not a great value, I wouldn't say, especially because our dollar is so bad. Like it was basically about $1,000 Canadian for a 3-hour tour. Like it was expensive. I'm glad we didn't. I think it made the museum a lot more manageable and a lot more enjoyable, but it wasn't like the guide wasn't amazing. There was someone else that had been recommended that wasn't available, and I feel like that might have been better. So it was good, but not a great value or like the wow experience for the money that we spent, I think. But we had a great time at the museum. They have like the Rosetta Stone is there and like lots of ancient Greek things. And I think I mentioned my daughter especially is really into ancient Greece. And so that was like in things that were interesting to my kids, ancient Egypt, that kind of stuff. So we did all of that. And of course, hit the gift shop. There's a gift shop everywhere.
Have to exit the gift shop.
I know. I decided, we told the kids that we would let them each pick one souvenir from each half of the trip. So one from the England part and one from the cruise part. But then we caved and we're like, okay, you can get pins. If they have pins, places we go, then we can get pins. So something small, we'll pick it out like it's good.
You got to fit in those carry-ons.
Yeah, exactly. So then after the British Museum, we just did some wandering and shopping. My daughter wanted to go to the Disney store in London. She has one of those, they're called Numi, you know, those little dolls.
Weymouth.
Weymouth. Yeah, she has an Anna one from one of our Disney World trips. And so she wanted to look for outfits, but unfortunately they didn't have them at the Disney store in London. We did a bunch of wandering shopping things. There's like a fancy kind of food store called Fortnum and Mason, where we bought some tea, and they have an ice cream parlor upstairs. And we went to the big bookstore. My kids are really big readers, and it took me a long time to drag them out of there. So we were actually intending to get to Buckingham Palace and see Buckingham Palace. But my kids were more interested in the ice cream parlor and the bookstore. So we didn't end up actually making it to Buckingham Palace there. Once they were like, we're just going to walk by and see it. Like, you can't go inside. You can't do anything. They were, we don't really care. And we'd walked a lot that day by that point. And then I had gotten recommendations from one of my travel groups for an Indian restaurant called Dishoom in London. There's several locations. So we ended up going there for dinner, which was great. It was really fun, loud, like supposed to be modeled after Bombay kind of same thing. So unique take on Indian food. It was really delicious. We all had a good time there. And then we never ended up doing the hop on, hop off bus tour because we just felt like we'd seen the things we wanted to see and we didn't need to. So my kids wanted to ride the double-decker bus. So we just took the public bus from the dinner back to the hotel, and that satisfied their desire to ride on the top bus, which is fun.
Yeah, got to do it. When in Rome or when in London.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Wednesday, August 16th was your time at the Harry Potter studio.
Yes. And that was amazing. Amazing. We had a really early morning that morning because we had the earliest entry time for the Harry Potter studio tour, as any good Disney fan would do, right?
Your rope drop.
Rope drop the Harry Potter studio tour. And we took the train. We took the tube to the train station, and then we took the train out to I think it was Euston Station, and then there's a free bus from the station to the Harry Potter studio tour. So we got on the bus at 20, got there like 8:15, got there like 8:30. The first tours were until 9, but the lobby and everything is open, where there's like the giant dragon and the coffee shops are open and stuff. So we were like first in line. And then basically how it works is they let you into a room and there's like a short video, and then they let you into a theater, and there's like a video where you sit and watch a bit, and it's just cast members and things like that talking a little bit about stuff. So that's structured, if that makes sense. Like you have to go in the group and be that. And then it opens up into the studios, and then all of that is your own guided tour, which I thought was incredible. My kids were a bit like, where's Hagrid's? We had been at Universal Harry Potter World, and I think they were, but there's no rides here. And then once they got over that, they liked it. It's just, they really liked Hagrid's, and they really,
Yeah. That's funny. A little bit different.
yeah. It was a little bit different. It was great. And they have these video experiences where there's one where you sit on the broom and they have the green screen behind you and they film like you ducking things and Quidditch balls and all that kind of stuff. And so, of course, we had to get videos of the kids doing that, and we had to pay the extra money for those videos, and we had to get the wanted posters with like their faces on the wizard posters. And
they didn't have Memory Maker?
No, they did not have Memory Maker. But they did have the same thing. Oh, of course, the more you buy, the cheaper it is, right? So if you get the whole package as opposed to just one photo, we did all of that and got some souvenirs in the gift shop and all that kind of stuff. And then we left. We ended up having lunch there at the cafeteria, which was fine. And then we left around 1. We left around 1, went back to the hotel, and the kids took naps. My kids do not normally nap. Obviously, they're 10 and 7, but they 100% will nap on a Disney vacation if I tie it to, do you want to go to the fireworks tonight or just whatever? And we had plans this evening, so they were.
You had some different shows you were going to that night, which would have also encouraged me to take a nap. How did you split up, and which shows did you go to?
We all went to dinner together before the shows. And then my husband took my daughter to see Wicked, and I took my son to see The Lion King.
How did that go?
My daughter loved Wicked. My husband said at one point she was crying, when she was laughing out loud, and she just loved it. She said it was her favorite part of the London trip. She and I both really like musical theater. We'd seen Aladdin with the Broadway touring company just a couple weeks before we went on this trip. That's something that we both really enjoyed. So I'm really glad that she got to see Wicked. She really loved it. And my son and I really liked The Lion King. We got aisle seats, which I didn't realize, but in the Lion King show, a lot of things come down the aisle. So he was right in the aisle, and he was really engaged with the show and did really great with sitting through it. Because he's only 7.
Mm-hmm.
There's unfortunately a group behind us that had a lot of kids around that age that were the kind of group that gives a bad name to people taking their children to Broadway shows because they talked quite a lot at full volume, which was a little distracting for me, but he didn't seem to notice it. So yeah, that was great too.
I'm glad. That's really fun that you incorporated, and your daughter that was her favorite part.
Yeah. I had a suspicion it might have been that or the Harry Potter experience, and it ended up being Wicked, which was great. So that was super fun. And then we ended up both of us ended up taking cabs back to the hotel. At this point, that was the only time we used something other than public transportation. And it was actually quite difficult to get a cab from where we were. So we almost took the bus back. We were standing at the bus stop, but my phone was dying. I was down to 6% battery. So I was looking for a cab because I didn't want to try to navigate the bus without being able to look at things and stuff. Anyways, we all made it back to the hotel fine, put the kids to bed. I did a bit of packing because we were moving the next day, and that was that.
And the next day was Thursday, August 17th, where you were hopping on a train to leave London.
Yes. So in the morning, we slept a little bit later than we expected. So I tried to take my deep breaths and have a bit of flexibility because we had 9 a.m. tickets for the Tower of London booked. But so we weren't that late. We had one last breakfast at our hotel, which I wanted to enjoy because, like I said, it's the best hotel breakfast or buffet breakfast I had ever seen. It was delicious. I'm still thinking about it. I wish that they would come to my house every day. And then we made it. We walked down from where our hotel was to the Tower of London. It's about a 15 to 20 minute walk. We got there around like 9:20. It was fine. It was not a big deal. We went in, we looked around at that. We went first to the Crown Jewels because I heard that can get longer lineups. So we did that first. And then as we came out and we saw them setting up all the ropes and the line building, my kid like, oh, that's why we need to listen to mom, because mom knows about things like this. Which they've had that moment at Disney as well, which is nice to feel vindicated.
Mhm.
No, we're not going to rope drop Buzz Lightyear. Like, we're going to go straight to a ride that's going to have a long lineup, right? So it's the same thing. I was like, we can do all the other things, but we're going to go to the crown jewels first. So we did that. We were going to do one of the tours that is just offered, but when we went to join up with the tour, it was so crowded. There must have been like 75 people in this clump, and like you couldn't hear anything. And my kids were like, nah, and I was like, it's not going to be great for anybody. So we just toured on our own. And then my kids wanted to ride the bus again. So we got an ice cream and we took a bus back to the hotel, even though we could have walked, and it honestly probably took longer to take the bus, but bus is fun. It's just double-decker buses are fun. And so we did that. We just zipped up to our room, quickly changed, got our bags finished packing, and then we took the tube to Waterloo Station. And there's something I just loved about Europe. Like, I love the trains. I love how easy it was to travel between places. I love the train station. They all had so many good food options, and like they all had little like markets and corner stores and like meals, but also like lots of snacky foods. They have something in London, Marks and Spencer food, which I thought was just so amazing and convenient. It's like tons of pre-made sandwiches and salads, but they also have, you can buy a pack of apple slices and grapes and cucumbers and little packages of nuts and like different things like that, which is really great, I think, for traveling with kids. Like, that's the kind of stuff my kids are used to eating. So it was really easy whenever you were going out and about for the day to grab snacks or grab a quick lunch or whatever it was. And it was like reasonably priced, I thought. So I was a very big fan of the trains and the train stations. So we grabbed lunch in Waterloo Station, and then we got on our train to Weymouth, and we didn't have any trouble with the trains either. Like, all our trains ran on time. They were all clean. They were all efficient. And again, I was really glad we had carry-on because, like I said, and we could just take the tube to the train station, and on the trains, like, carry-on size luggage would fit in the overhead racks, but bigger suitcases wouldn't. So we were able to stow all our luggage without any problem. And trains have they have some seats where two faces two, when there's a table in the middle, like card games, you can do whatever.
You haven't mentioned laundry yet. Was that a necessity because you only had carry-ons?
We did laundry once the day we got on the cruise ship.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't got laundry yet.
I assumed you'd have to at some point. How was Weymouth?
Weymouth was good. On the train to Weymouth, we managed to get Taylor Swift tickets. We had Wi-Fi, everything was good. Taylor Swift is coming to Toronto in November 2024 now, so it's still over a year away. But my husband and I massively lucked out, and we both got pre-sale codes through our credit card, plus through Ticketmaster, so we managed to get 12 Taylor Swift tickets while we were on vacation in London.
12? That is not cheap.
No, but we had lots of friends who wanted codes, weren't able to get them, so we recoup the cost, but we're not going to sell them at a markup to friends.
Everyone I know I've got waitlisted.
Yeah, so it was very unusual because, everyone else we know had gotten waitlisted. So we're like, guess we better make this happen. We've only been big friends. And
that's amazing. You were multitasking.
Yeah. And then we got to Weymouth, and Weymouth was adorable. It's like this kind of, I don't know what you would imagine is like a classic British seashore town. When we got there, my husband was like, Jersey Shore? What? We've never been to the Jersey Shore, but it was like this British style buildings, but then like the crazy, like random carnival rides and arcades and flashing lights and stuff that people who've never been to the Jersey Shore might think the Jersey Shore would be like. I don't know if it's actually what it's like. But we had stayed at this cute bed and breakfast that was right on the beach. So we got off the train, we checked into our hotel, and my kids were in the ocean in the span of 30 minutes. It was like a 3-minute walk from the train station to the hotel. Again, carry on luggage, easy. We just walked. We didn't have to worry about cabs or anything. And then my kids saw the ocean and the beach and they were like, we're going. It was like 5 o'clock by that point and like 17 degrees, which, Fahrenheit.
Oh, I need to have my converter up.
It's, I think maybe around 65. I don't know. It was chilly.
62.6, which is, yes, not super warm. I was going to ask how the water was temperature-wise, but the temperature outside wasn't very warm.
No, but they didn't care. I think they were just like, we want to be free. We want to run. We want to play. Like, we've been, like, they enjoyed all the museums and walking around the city and everything, but I think they were just ready for a little bit of freedom. Especially my youngest, there was a lot of, hold my hand, walk carefully, falling off the curb, stop running, stop jumping on things, stop climbing things. So I think it's just 20 minutes or something, they were in the water, but they were very happy. And then we got some takeout fish and chips and walked around the the whole main street is arced along a big beach. And yeah, it was good. It was nice to be out of the city for a bit.
The next day, you were renting a car and going along the Jurassic Coast.
So that plan changed. That plan, we pivoted a little bit. So we had planned to rent a car. And the car rental company that we had rented from typically has a branch in Weymouth. And they kept saying, we don't know, it might be open. We don't know, it might be open. And then I confirmed when we were in London and they were like, no, it's still closed. You'll have to come to Dorset, which wasn't very far. It was a stop before Weymouth on the train. When we got there, I saw some buses going by that were advertised for the Jurassic Coast. And I looked it up and I was like, hey, this bus actually goes where we want to go. And I think everybody's feeling a bit tired, and the weather wasn't supposed to be very good that next day. It was only supposed to be like 16 or 17. It was calling for some rain. I don't know if this whole big day that we planned with 5 or 6 stops was going to be great. And my husband had gotten sick just with a cold, but all combined, I was like, we're just going to scrap the car rental. Like, nobody wants to be taking the train at 7:30 to go pick up the car rental to come back and pick us up and all of that. So we scrapped it. I called them that morning and they were like, no problem, we'll refund you. So that was great. And we ended up just taking this tourist bus. That was fun because it was double-decker as well. And the double-decker was open at the top and it wasn't raining. So we got to ride on the open top with the branches. The roads are so narrow there that they like cut the bushes to like the shape of the bus. But some of them had grown. So they were like cutting the side of the bus. It was fun. And we went to this place called Door, which is like a famous landmark thing. It's like a rock that is carved out and there's like a big hole in it. I'm not probably describing it very well. It's very beautiful. And where you get off the bus, you walk through like some farmers' fields to get to that. And then there's like a parking lot and like a actual kind of station. There's like an information lady and bathrooms. And I found everything in England was very convenient too, in that they were like bathrooms everywhere, and there was like always somewhere selling food. So they had these little tents selling drinks and food and stuff. Like, you never had to worry about that. If you wanted something, it was always available. And then we hiked down to the beach there, and my kids, again, we had brought their bathing suits and they insisted on swimming. It was chilly again that day. Like, it was even chillier than the day before because it was cloudy. It wasn't sunny at all, but they wanted to go in the water, so they did. And then we hiked back up, and then you can hike down to a town called Loworth Cove, which is not very far. I don't know, a mile or two. It's not like it's, I think during that day, we only hiked about 5 kilometers, which is about 3 miles. But to go down to the cove and up is steep down and then a bit of a trek up. So then we walked over to this little town, and I'm trying to think of what we did there. Yeah, we just got ice cream. They had the highest number of ice cream shops that I've ever seen in one small town. Literally, there was like 8 or 9.
That's a selling point. That would be a motivator on that hike.
Oh, no, exactly. So we decided the tour bus was like only came, I think, every hour to pick up. So we got there. We're like, do we want to have lunch? Then we're like, we're going to be stuck waiting for the next bus. Let's just get ice cream for lunch and then take the bus back. So we did that. And then we took the bus back, and then we grabbed Marks and Spencer Foods again. They had in this town. So we grabbed like just a bunch of snacks, like some veggies and fruit and nuts for some real food. And then everyone just needed a bit of downtime. So just relax in the room, let the kids read a bit and hang out. And then we went back out onto the pier. It was supposed to start raining in the evening. So we went out around 4, and they had all these kind of like little carnival rides, like the swings and the scrambler and those kind of things. So we let my kids ride some of those, and we let them go into the arcade, and we had a bunch of pound coins that someone had given us, like British money, and gave it to them and said, "Here, go wild at the arcade." And they thought that was great. And we had dinner out, and I ate at a restaurant called Rockfish, which does like all fresh local seafood. So everyone had fish and everyone was happy. We did a little bit more arcade. And then we attempted to get an earlier night for bed. But of course, whenever you try that, kids then inevitably can't sleep. So it was a bit of a later night, but it was fine. It was a great night. My kids really liked Weymouth. I think they needed a bit of a break and something a little bit less structured and a little bit more casual.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a good pace. And you were getting ready to change up the pace with the vibe again because it was time to go on your cruise.
Yes. On Saturday morning, we left for our cruise. The same thing, this hotel had like breakfast included, like a full breakfast, which was really nice. It'd been a long time since I'd stayed in like a smaller, like owned hotel, like not a Disney hotel or a big chain or something. So it was like proprietor was there, and like him and his wife lived on site, and they were very lovely and helpful with everything. And it reminded me that's a very nice experience and something that I should look for more often. So we had breakfast there, and then we had planned to take the train at 9, but the train tickets, I had bought them all in advance. And what I'd done is I used an app called Trainline, and I bought the tickets all in advance, and I bought a rail card, which someone had suggested to me because it actually took enough money off that it was worth it, even though we were only taking a couple of train trips. But basically all of our trains ended up being an anytime fare, so you can go anytime that day, even though I picked a specific go anytime that day. So we decided to go a little bit later because our port arrival time wasn't until 12:45. And then everything was smooth and there was no issue. So we took the train at 10, and we got into Southampton train station around 11:30 or so, I think. And we decided to just walk from the train station to the port, which was fine. It was about a 15-minute walk or so. It was just had to go up over like a bridge to go over the train, and it wasn't like exactly a walking path. So like the traffic was a bit weird and stuff, but it was fine. We could have taken a cab. We had taken I think they have these in the US. They're like little portable boosters called MyFolds, but they're like this thing that folds up pretty small, like that. The idea is that it like the seatbelt hooks down into it, so it brings the seatbelt down rather than a big booster that kind of brings the kid up to the seatbelt. We had taken one of those for my 7-year-old so that we could use a cab or an Uber if we wanted to. And we could have taken a cab, but it was fine to walk. My oldest was great, like with her stuff the whole time. She pulled her own suitcase. She carried her own backpack. And we had planned that my youngest might not. So my husband and I were able to manage his stuff in addition to ours if necessary. Like I took a tote instead of a backpack, so I could wear his backpack, and my husband could I could roll a suitcase. So it was fine. We walked to the port. We got to the port around 12, and our port arrival time was until 12:45. We asked when we got there, and they said, no, you can go ahead and check your bags. So we checked our bags, and that was quick. We hadn't gotten our bag tags in the mail before. I don't know if that's a Canada thing, because I know before when they used to have Magical Express and the luggage collection, they never used to send them to Canada. So I don't know if that was the reason or what. But we didn't get our bag tags. That was fine. They just gave them to us at the port.
It seems strange because Disney Cruise Line is all over the world.
Yeah. And people in England had got their bag tags, which obviously the cruise left from England, but Disney's not particularly England. So I don't know. Regardless, it was totally fine. It was zero issue if we didn't have the tags. She just made them up for us. So we checked our bags. That was fine. And then they had like lineups for each port arrival time. This was our first cruise, so I didn't really know how any of this was going to work. So we got on the 12:45 lineup, and they basically started taking us right away. So then we got through the passport check and the security. That was all pretty quick. And we got into the lounge by 12:30. So our port arrival time wasn't until 12:45, and we were already in the lounge at 12:30. And then I was able to log in to the Disney Cruise Line Wi-Fi at that point and like log in as if I was on board. And then I think I had told you that we were trying to get an Amsterdam port excursion. So actually some spots had opened up and I was able to book that from the waiting room.
Nice.
Then it took a bit of we had to wait about an hour before we got to board the ship. So we sat in the lounge.
And at that point, because you were on the DCL Wi-Fi, were you able to see your like dining rotation and all that as well?
Yeah, I was able to see all that stuff. Then able to start looking at the activities and the stuff, which was exciting.
Yeah, that's a great thing to do while you wait. I've gone out of 4 different ports, and some of them have easier connectivity than others, but I really like that wait. That's a great way to wait, but before you get on the ship.
Yes, because it was very like exciting to be like, oh, well, we can do this and that and this and that. So we got on around 1:30, and at that point, our staterooms were ready, which was nice. So we went and dropped our bags. And initially, the plan had been what we had done was we had ended up with all the laundry in one suitcase. So we hadn't checked that suitcase. We kept it. And because I didn't think we'd get access to our room that early or our bag. So we kept the suitcase that had the laundry and we were going to go put it in the laundry machine as soon as we got on board. But then when we got into our rooms, we didn't end up doing that. We decided to go for lunch. We went up to Cabanas. And then we went to the open house at the kids club. And then we went to the muster drill. And by that point, then I was like, oh, we forgot about the laundry. So my husband went to do the laundry and he said that he got only like the last machine. So
it was busy right on arrival day.
Yeah. So it was fine, but I guess we might have been better if we'd done it right away. We got a machine, but there was people coming behind him and he was saying, oh no, there's no machines left. So I don't know if other people had trips probably before and with a similar idea that.
Yeah. Sounds like maybe they did.
Also, he said a lot of the laundry machines were broken.
That makes it harder.
Yes. And so then we did the sail away party and they have a zone at the front for kids. So that was good. My kids went in there and they could see and they were right up front. Unfortunately, there's a zone at the front for the kids. And then I stood right at the back of the zone, like on the other side of the rope, and lots of other adults did too, right? So then you're in the front, but then people who came late or came at the end came in with their kids, and then adults were standing in the kids zone, which kind of blocked everyone's view who'd been there, but it was okay. I'm a grown adult. If I didn't see every speck of Mickey Mouse's sail away dance, it was okay. But I found in general, people were like a little bit oblivious about stuff like that, which is similar to what happens at fireworks and things like that. The norm, it seems. Yeah.
What did you do after the sail away party?
After the sail away party, we ran down, we got on our bathing suits. We ran up and did a quick ride on the aqueduct because my kids were eyeing that up, and then had a quick dip in the pool before we went back to get ready for dinner. And
were the swimming water areas busy? Like lots of people were doing that?
I think we probably waited like 15 minutes for the aqueduct.
Yeah.
And the pool seemed like not horrible, but definitely full of children.
I'm just fascinated by the mild temperatures and everybody getting into the water. We went on an Alaskan cruise and we were in 3 layers of clothes and people were swimming. So anything's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely, I went in the aqueduct and then it didn't really have a strong desire to get in the pool. The kids thought the pool was really fun and the novelty of being in a pool on the cruise ship was great. But it was basically just a bunch of kids bobbing up and down watching a movie, right? It's not really swimming. I was like, you guys stay in the pool. And then I went to the adult only hot tub.
Yeah.
Which was nice with the ages my kids were at. I was like, okay, you're in the pool. I'm going for 15 minutes to the adults only hot tub and I'm coming back and you're fine, right?
Where was dinner that night? What was your first dining room?
Our first dining room was the Enchanted Garden. So that was our first dinner, was at the Enchanted Garden, which I thought was quite lovely.
It is very pretty in there. How was the food and the service? Because this is like your first experience with cruise dining.
Yeah, so I've thoughts on the food overall. I don't know if because like looking at the Disney cruise when you're doing research about it, there are people that are like, oh, the food is the best thing ever. It's amazing. It's so delicious. It's fantastic. And then there's people who are like, the food is disgusting. It's awful. And clearly it's none of those things. I thought overall the food was good, not great, I guess is what I would say if I had to describe it overall. Like standard wedding food in my mind. But that's what I expected. I wouldn't go on a cruise expecting that I'm going to have the same kind of meal that I would have if I went to an organic farm-to-table restaurant at home that has 25 tables served at all different times, right? They're churning out meals for thousands of people
yes,
at the same time.
On a boat.
On a boat. And the food was exactly what I expected. It was, I don't know. I don't know if you agree with like wedding food.
I like it more than you have said, but that's okay.
Yeah, like I liked it. There were definitely things I liked more than others. Have I had better meals? For sure. But I didn't expect to have a 5-star dining experience on a cruise ship.
And you had rooming booked later in your trip. So we'll get to that because it is supposed to be a nicer dining experience than the main dining rooms.
Yes, I think there was some things that were really great about the food. There was always a lot of variety. My daughter is like one of those Disney adults who's still a kid, right? Because she's 10. So she's Disney adult. So they were really great about letting her order off the adult menu or off the kids menu. They were really great about letting us pick and choose things. They were really great about letting us add vegetables from the adult menu to the kids' meals or like mixing and matching things, that kind of stuff. I thought that was like, they were really great about that. It felt like they wanted everyone to enjoy their meal and they wanted everyone to be happy. And especially like the adult menu has a whole section of like lighter options, which just tended to be like food without a bunch of sauces and garnishes. So I felt like that worked really well for kids because it was healthier food like fish and veggies, but it didn't have a lot of garnishes or sauces that might make kids be like, nah. I'm not a huge fan of the kids menu, to be honest. Like, I don't really buy into the idea that kids need kids food. And that's not really how my family eats at home. Like, we don't have separate meals. Like, I don't make my kids chicken nuggets for dinner or they eat dinner.
I was exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to eat whatever. If we're at a Mexican restaurant, you're going to eat Mexican. You're not eating chicken nuggets.
Yes. So we decided on an approach. We're like, we don't want to argue with the kids about food. The thing is, my kids, in the grand scheme of things, they're pretty good eaters. And we live in Vancouver, which is like a very multicultural city. So sushi would be something that, sushi is like McDonald's here. It's on every corner. Everybody gets to go sushi. They definitely have some things that they're good with. And then they have some things that they're a bit pickier about, especially if things aren't really prepared the way they're used to or have a lot of sauces and stuff. Okay, you know what? One meal a day, they can pick whatever they want, and one meal a day, we're like, we want them to pick something more. They were pretty good about that, and that kind of worked for us to kind of balance things out.
Did you do anything after dinner on this day?
After dinner, yes, we did. We did lots of things. My kids went to the kids club. We did some unpacking, and I went to guest services to try and book the sports simulator for my youngest, which I was able to get. And then the kids and I went to the Golden Mickeys. My husband was still feeling a bit under the weather. He had a non-COVID cold, just a cold, but he wanted to lay down. So I took the kids to see the Golden Mickeys, which I thought was great. I don't know if you remember the Golden Mickeys, but there was a starfish in the Little Mermaid scene, who I thought was clearly the highlight of the entire production. It was hilarious. He was like ducked to the floor, and yeah. Overall, I thought the shows were great.
Good. And you got to do the Golden Mickeys on this day. And yeah, what was I just going to ask you about? Because you were saying something. Oh, the kids clubs. So this is your kids' first time in the kids clubs. How did they like the kids clubs?
So over the course, it ended up that my youngest loved the kids club and asked to go all the time, partially because he really liked Mario Kart. And then Paul has some fairly strict limits on his Mario Kart time. He liked going to, and they have a Disney Infinity thing game and stuff. So he liked a lot of that stuff, which whatever, it's his vacation too. So I tried to be a bit chill about that kind of stuff. My daughter had some things that she liked at the kids club. I feel like was a bit of an awkward age because she was 10. We could apply for an exception for her to go to the tween club. It's Edge. That's 11 to 14. And I think if she'd had an older sibling or a cousin or a friend or something to go with, that would have been great. I think on her own, it was a bit intimidating. But I think she also felt maybe a little bit too old for the kids club at times.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so she went less than my son. But the nice thing was she was a bit older, so if she wanted to do something on her own for a bit, she could. That makes sense.
Yeah, and for people that have never been on a cruise, kids do wander around the ship a lot by themselves, and they're in a confined, space to navigate.
Yeah, so we gave her, at the kids club, when you sign them up, they ask you if they have privileges to check themselves out. So we gave her privileges to check herself out, and we did not give my son privileges to check himself out.
Probably a good call with the 7-year-old.
Yeah. So the one thing that I actually made a note of this that I think is a good thing for people to think about, I actually wish that I had some kind of device for her. She doesn't have a phone, obviously. Well, she's 10. Some 10-year-olds might. She does not have a phone. But we do have a spare cell phone at home that we use if she gets left alone because we don't have a home phone, obviously. And I wish I'd brought that along, actually, because she's fine to leave the kids club on her own, or like I said, even if she wanted to go back to the room and read for a bit, or she wanted to go check something out, it just would have been nice for her to be able to find us or us to be able to find her.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
So I think just maybe think about that for kids that are not, or even I wish I had downloaded the Disney Cruise Line app to her iPad, because then she could have at least gone back to the room and messaged us and asked where we were or something. But we hadn't done that before. I hadn't even crossed my mind. So maybe think about a way to communicate. Especially she was fine, but she was by herself. If she had a friend or a sibling or something, it would have been different. But I'm like, she's probably just alone. Like, what's it?
That would have been probably helpful for her. Good to know.
Yeah. But yeah, we did the Golden Mickeys. There was a moment during the Golden Mickeys when they played Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And my kids put their arms around each other, I cried. It was a moment. So I loved it.
That's so cute. So
Disney at its best, right? That's the Disney magic that we all love, right?
Yeah, so that sounds like a really good embarkation day. And the next day, you had some plans on the ship and at the port.
Yes. Yeah, so that night we got our kids to bed. I think the downside of how we did this a bit was it was great to be there the week before, got over the jet lag. I'm happy with how we did it, but we did arrive to the cruise already a little bit tired. And it was a port-heavy cruise. Yeah. Oh, and the first night, my kids had a lot of trouble getting to sleep. They had been a bit uncertain before the cruise about being on a boat. Fueled a bit by, I think, some Titanic talk at school this year and some things. So the first night, that was a bit of a thing, but after that, it was fine. So that was
Did you have any of that melatonin from your first day in London available?
I didn't think to give them that again, but I probably should have. We were able to get everyone to sleep. Yeah. And I didn't say we had a deluxe family stateroom with veranda. So we had the bunks, like the couch that folds out and the bed that pulls down, which was great.
And a curtain between your bed and the kids.
Yes.
And then the two different bathrooms, right?
Yes. Like the shower and the toilet. And I think the shower is like very brilliant because it's small, but there's also a little tub, which is great if you have little kids. And there's a handheld shower, which is great if you have preschoolers, and then the full shower. But because it's like a round shape, it didn't feel like you were constantly banging your elbows and stuff. Yeah. So I thought that worked really good for a family. And for anyone who's concerned, like I was, about having their kids on a boat with a veranda, there's like a very high lock. I think other people have mentioned this on the podcast, but there's a very high lock on the door at the top that you can put in. So I was very vigilant about that lock and very vigilant that my kids were not allowed on the veranda without an adult, but it felt okay.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of cruises with kids. There's this visual that they're just going to fall over the edge. In general, did you feel pretty safe on the ship?
Yes. My youngest, I liked to have eyes on him, but yes, there's no, Disney's smart. They obviously don't, they have a lot of kids on their ship and they don't want children falling off their cruise ship. There wasn't things for kids to be able to climb on near the edges of railings or anything like that. There is chairs on the veranda though. So that's, I think, the biggest concern is there's like a chair and a little table. So if your kid decides they want to reach something or they're fooling around or climbing over the chairs, that caused me a kind of a moment. So we were just very careful that kids were not allowed on the veranda. We did not open it unless a grown-up was out there, and it was fine.
Yeah, that is a good tip. Watch the veranda furniture. So how did your day go where you were at Rotterdam?
So that day started excellent. I had booked a massage that morning for 8 a.m. So I had a 75-minute massage. The massage was excellent. The spa was lovely. I did feel like it was a little bit sales pitchy at the end. I don't know. Both my husband and I are a little bit sensitive to that. I think we're prone to feel a bit guilty or be like,
you want to say yes? So were they offering you products?
Yeah, or you should book this other service and you should book this other service. Maybe. And I'm sure other people would not have been fazed by it in the least. But yeah, the service was lovely, was great. I was really glad we did it. And we had ordered room service pastries for the kids the night before. Like you can put that thing, there's a little flip that you can put on your door the night before and check off what you want. And so those got delivered while I was at my massage because we figured the kids would be hungry. So they ate some pastries in the room with my husband. And then when I came, then I showered after the massage up there because the showers up there like beautiful and big and well stocked. So I showered there and then I went and grabbed my family and we went up to Cabanas. Cabanas the first morning was a little bit chaotic. There was quite a long line to get in and it was very busy. Yeah, overall I thought Cabanas was good, not great. Maybe that's my take on the food kind of overall. I felt like it was exactly what I expected. It's like a Disney World buffet put on a cruise ship. Maybe it probably has more options than any one specific Disney World buffet, and like maybe some a little bit fancier options. I felt like it was like very much quantity over quality. I could have done with a little bit less options with a bit higher quality, but it was exactly what I expected.
It's like a quick service buffet.
Yeah. Like when you're serving breakfast to thousands of people and they have trays of eggs Benedict, the eggs aren't going to be hot. Do you know what I mean? The English muffins aren't going to be freshly toasted. But there was lots of options. There was fruit. There was like something for everybody. It was, as every other morning, it was less busy and less chaotic. It was easy. It was convenient. I liked that it was quick and you didn't have to order and wait forever and you could go back and get a little more. It was good. Mm-hmm. It was good. And then we had booked the Amsterdam on your own port adventure, as I mentioned, from the cruise ship terminal. So we had not been able to get that when we booked our port adventures because we were first-time cruisers, but we were able to book it at that point. So we had to meet in the theater at 11, and then we went from there. They had canceled one of the excursions. Like, the people were all sitting in the theater, and then someone went up to the front and was like, "By the way, group number 7, your excursion is canceled. Sorry." Which was, yeah, it wasn't us, but I felt bad for those people, especially because it was just, okay, have a good day in Rotterdam, otherwise there's shuttle buses. Yeah, I don't know. So we did it was basically just a bus. And disembarkation that day was we've never been on a cruise before. I said that a million times, sorry. Based on what other people on the cruise had said and things, it feels like this was a problem for this ship or this sailing that isn't particularly normal, but the disembarkation was often very chaotic. So even though we were with a Disney excursion, and I think you're supposed to get off first, it was very chaotic, and there was other people getting off in multiple lines, and we were standing in line for a long time, and the people leading the excursions off, it was so crowded that they got lost, and everyone was all mixed up. And anyways, it was fine. We got off and all of that, but it felt like Disney's really good usually at organizing lineups, and it did not feel like they were putting their skills to use this morning. So we didn't get off until about, we were supposed to leave at 11, and it was probably close to 12 by the time the bus actually left.
And where did the bus take you?
To Amsterdam. And it dropped us off by the train station. And I don't know why, I just assumed that a Disney excursion, that there'd be like a Disney movie on the bus or something, but there was nothing. There was no one talking. There was no facts. There was no Disney movie showing or anything. It was fine.
When you book the excursions through Disney, they're just outsourcing it. So it's not like their people, but
yeah, that is what I came to learn, which was fine. It was a very nice, clean bus. It was air conditioned. It traveled from Rotterdam to Amsterdam as it was supposed to do, and put its passengers off in Amsterdam.
What'd you do there?
Yeah, so we had pre-booked tickets for the Van Gogh Museum. So we got there around 1:15, and I think our tickets were 1:45. So we just grabbed an Uber to the Van Gogh Museum, which was easy to do through the Uber app like you would do anywhere else. Then we got to the Van Gogh Museum. We decided to do the audio tour. You know how all museums and things have those audio tours you can buy and wear the headphones and walk around? We hadn't done the one yet at this point. And the kids were interested, so we thought we'd try it. And it actually worked really well with them. They were quite engaged with it. My daughter really liked it. She insisted on doing the whole thing. My youngest did really well for about an hour, and then he was done listening to information about Van Gogh. So he and I went to the gift shop a little early and did that. But
Van Gogh had quite a spicy life. How much of that did they make it like kid friendly? How does that work?
They talk about how he cut off his ear, and then the police found him in bed and that kind of stuff. And I don't think on the audio tour they talked about how he committed suicide and things at the end, but there was definitely information about that. Both my kids can obviously read. My older daughter read the information. My youngest, by the time we got to the end, was losing focus a little bit. So I don't really know how much of that he picked up on, but it wasn't anything that I was concerned about.
Yeah. Just curious.
Yeah.
How that worked.
Yeah. The audio tour was very G to PG rated for sure. So we did that. And then we had not really a definitive plan. I was wondering if we would have time to fit in a canal boat tour. And if I had researched it really intensely before and been willing to cut our time at the museum a little short, we probably could have fit it in. But by the time we finished, we ended up with not really enough time. And that was one thing I found a little bit frustrating. It was hard it was hard to do excursions, places where you were busy and trying to organize other things because there wasn't a lot of information. Like it was hard to know when exactly will we get off the ship because it makes a big difference if we get off the ship at 11 and leave Rotterdam at 11 versus if we leave at noon. That I found what time do we book tickets for? How much time will we have? They didn't tell us what time we had to be back at the bus until the bus showed up in Amsterdam. As we got off the bus, this is when we tell you what time you have to be back. So it was hard to plan to tour a city without knowing like exactly how much time you had. Does that make sense?
It does entirely, but that's very confusing.
Yeah. Because even when we asked in the morning, they're like, oh no, the driver will tell you what time to come back once you get off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to be back at the bus at 5:30. They said be back at 5:30 for a 5:45 departure. So we ended up just like the Van Gogh Museum was like, I don't know how much you know about Amsterdam, but there's like the train station and then the Central Canal and then all the rings of canals. And the Van Gogh Museum was like a bit out. So it was like about a 15 to 20 minute Uber ride. It was supposed to be like a 35-minute walk back. So we decided to just wander back and check out the canals. And we got some waffles and ice cream and Nutella and that kind of stuff. And slowly we're meandering, but it was very crowded in Amsterdam. So the walk took quite a long time. We also stopped to look in some stores, and apparently rubber ducks are a big thing there. Like past the rubber duck store, and we had to go in and purchase rubber ducks. And
did you see them on the ship as well?
We did. Yes, that was a highlight for my youngest, especially because the first duck he found was a dinosaur duck, and he is a dinosaur lover.
That was good.
He was very excited. Like at one point, yeah, he made me just walk around with him for an hour looking for ducks.
Fun.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And they like that they come from different people, and they were both already planning. Like, when we go on a cruise next, we have to do ducks, like, and what kind of ducks we should get, and can we get Canadian ducks and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the slow walk. Amsterdam is beautiful. Like, I could have spent forever just wandering or like sitting on the sidewalk at a restaurant and enjoying, but it was very crowded that day. So we slowly walked back. The only one thing I think that is of note is that public washrooms in Europe are like not as common, and they often have a charge. So we found some at the train station before we got back on the bus. And it's like a minimal charge, but they're not always very convenient or plentiful. If you're at any museum or restaurant or anywhere that has bathrooms, always use the bathroom before you leave. So we did that.
Tip. We certainly wouldn't be used to that here.
Yeah, it's definitely less, like, things are less available. Yeah, so we did that. And then that was basically it. We got back to the bus around 5. We got back to the bus at 5:25. Almost everybody was already on the bus. We left at 5:45. I wasn't entirely clear, actually, if we left someone behind. Because the guy came up and somebody asked him, like, oh, are we leaving? And he's, oh, we're still waiting for some people. And then immediately after that, he walked down and the bus left. So hopefully the people came on. It was just another double-decker bus and we were on the top. So hopefully the people came on while he was out counting the top. And we didn't leave anybody behind. But
scary.
Yeah.
But when you book a Disney excursion, you're guaranteed to get back on the ship.
Yes. Although I wasn't sure how that works if they left you in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but
I don't know. It took us a bit longer to get back. We actually got to the port very quickly, and then the traffic getting into the port was horrible. So we had stop and go traffic for about half an hour. So we got there until 7:30. We got back around 7:30. I don't know that I would do an excursion again that had that long of a travel time. We had our hearts set on Amsterdam because that was supposed to be the original port. And so when it moved to Rotterdam, we'll just still go to Amsterdam. And in retrospect, I think I probably wouldn't again, just because it didn't feel like we had enough time to really see much. It was one of those things where, because you had an end bracket that was firm, it was like if we'd had an extra 30 minutes, we could have done the canal tour. And if we had been staying in Amsterdam, that would have been fine. But because we had to go back and we didn't want to cut it too short, it felt like some of the time was wasted because you were having to get back for a very specific time, if that makes sense.
If you had chosen to stay in Rotterdam, could you have walked from the port, or how was the setup?
Yeah, you could have easily done, although, so this is the other thing. So Disney announced that morning, oh, we're going to have free shuttles to the city center. But they hadn't told anyone that before, which was like in the cruise Facebook group, people were trying to plan their transportation and what they could do and how they could get there. Or people were planning to take the train into Amsterdam and how are you going to get to the train station and stuff. So it would have been easy to navigate. There was a metro, there was buses, you could walk, there was water taxis. Would have been able to do something easily even without that. But they did end up adding shuttle buses into the city center of Rotterdam.
Yeah, that is frustrating for people that like to plan changing the port and then not telling you anything about that port. That seems difficult.
Yes, that's what I felt was like a little bit. It made it hard to plan not knowing the details of things, but it was fine.
Were you back on the ship by your dining time?
No, we missed dinner. And we had told our servers the night before that we were going to miss dinner. And they had said, oh, you can go to Cabanas or the quick service. But it wasn't true. Cabanas was not open for dinner. Cabanas was only open until 2:30 or something for lunch. So we went to the Lowe's and Mater's things up on the deck where they have like chicken fingers and burgers and sandwiches and stuff. And just got that stuff for dinner. And actually, I think my youngest didn't even want dinner. He just wanted to go to the kids club. So we sent him to the kids club. And then my daughter went to the kids club with him for a bit. My husband and I had a nice drink and a walk around deck 4 and watched the sunset as we sailed out of Rotterdam. And then we went and got the kids from the kids club and we met Donald, who's my youngest favorite. He has like a cherished, it's actually a loon, but he calls it a duck. It's like his baby stuffy that he's had since he was very little.
Mm-hmm.
That comes everywhere with us. So Donald is his favorite. And every time we go somewhere, he has to meet Donald and take his ducky to show Donald his ducky.
That is so cute. Someday he's going to outgrow that. It's so cute that he's into it right now.
I know, but yes, I know. But so on the cruise, he actually picked one of those new me Donalds. So then he has to take that Donald to meet Donald a second time. So Donald's the favorite.
That is adorable.
And then we did a lot of things this night because then we went to Disney trivia and we went and got more food from my son who hadn't eaten and brought it to the trivia. So that was the other thing I was amazed about with the food, like how they were really great. Like you could just take food from up there and bring it to the trivia and bring things everywhere and drinks and stuff like that. I thought was really convenient. And
I get when it's all included.
Yeah.
You can float.
Mm-hmm. And then my husband was tired and wanted to go to bed. My kids were living their best Disney Cruise Line life and they had no interest in going to bed. So we went and played Mirror, which they won. So that was super exciting. They were a team for that game and they were very happy. It was very fun. Overall, we were like really into the games, like the trivia and especially like the game shows, like the Mirror and all those kind of things. That was a highlight for our family. Like my kids get their competitive streak from me a little bit.
Yeah, but that's really fun. You guys can all just jump in and try out activities.
Yeah, so we really like all those things available on the cruise. Like
the next day, you were going to have a lot of time for it because it was a full day at sea.
Yes. So that morning we slept in a little bit and went to breakfast, and breakfast was much less chaotic that day.
Which surprises me on a day at sea.
I think it was just more spread out because nobody had anywhere to be at a particular time, I think. I think because on the Rotterdam day 2, the clocks had gone ahead an hour. So the debarkation time of 11 was actually only 10. So it wasn't as late as it seemed. Like I think people all were like, let's just go for breakfast at 9 right before we get off the ship. So then we rope dropped the pool. We went and got ready and the pool opened at 10. We were there at like 9:45, ready to go in line for the aqueduct. And that had about I think probably it's about a 20-minute wait, but about 10 minutes of that was like before it actually opened.
Rope droppers.
Yeah, we are rope droppers. When I took my youngest to Disneyland, I took each of my kids for a weekend trip, a solo trip with me last fall. And when I took him, he like woke me up every single morning at 5 and was like, "I'm ready to go, Mom. We've got to get on Space Mountain. Let's go." They're up for it. So yeah, we did the pool. I did the adults only hot tub again a little bit. We did the midship detective agency. They both wanted me to let you know. My oldest wanted me to let you know that she solved all 3 cases. My youngest only solved 2, but he solved the hardest one. That was fun. Especially my kids are the perfect age for it because they can read, and it was great. I thought that was actually a lot of fun. There was lots and lots of families doing it everywhere, and it was a great way to interact with other people a little bit because you pass people doing things. And then my youngest went to the kids club. We were going to do the animation thing, but it was way too crowded. I don't know why they don't have clipboards. I don't know, on the other cruise ship or boats, do they have clipboards for the animation?
I think it was just pencils and paper on tables and the pub.
Yeah, it was in the D lounge, and even that was full. Like when we got there, it was full.
Which is big. That's a big space.
Big. And you could have just sat on the floor or whatever, but then you didn't have anywhere to draw on. And so it was almost like the table space was short. People were like drawing on the wall. That's good stuff. So we decided to leave. We went to the Cogsworth Clock Challenge, which actually probably ended up being more fun for us anyway. My daughter ended up in the like tiebreaker between one of the kids on the other team where they were basically playing like beer pong, like with tic-tac-toe. They didn't call it that. They were like, all the adults know what this is. We can't say what it is. But it was basically like ping pong balls into glasses, but they were playing tic-tac-toe. Got very intense. She pulled off a win at the last minute. It was very exciting. So that was a lot of fun. And then my kids, at some point we must have eaten lunch, but then my kids wanted to do the Stitch Goo at the kids club. So we went and did that. One thing to note is that some of the activities in the kids club will say like open, and that means that a parent has to be there. I guess it's like an open house. It's not closed. So which was fine. I didn't mind being there. I didn't know that about how
you didn't know the lingo or the setup.
Yeah, I didn't know the lingo, but basically it was just slime making, which is something every kid seems to be a fan of. And Stitch comes in at the beginning, so that's really cute. And then they made slime, and they were really happy with the slime and everything. So that was great. And then we went and checked William into the other side of the kids club, which was closed because they had the Oceaneer lab and the Oceaneer club. So I think they could close one half of it and have that part be the open house, and then the other half was still closed where you could leave kids. So we went and left him back there. And then my daughter and I got our books and did some reading and some lounge chairs. And then we got ready for formal night. So this was formal night.
And what percentage of the people on the ship do you think participated in dressing up?
Oh, that's a hard one. So I would say the spectrum went everywhere from people that were like really formal, like long gown, sequins, like black suit and ties, even a couple people in tuxes. And there's people that didn't dress up really at all. I would say most people made some nod to being dressier than normal. So we had not obviously a lot of space for a bunch of formal clothes, right? So we had luggage only. So my husband had dress pants and a button-up shirt, and my youngest, the same thing. Had him like dress pants and like a nicer, like a pair of loafers, which for a 7-year-old boy are nice shoes, and
it's very cute.
Yeah, my daughter and I had dresses, but not fancy gowns. Yeah, I would say I didn't feel out of place at all.
I feel like every cruise has its own vibe, where some are going to be more dressed up, or the Alaskan cruise was much more casual. And that's why I asked, because I was just curious.
There was a lot of talk in our cruise Facebook group in advance about what people were wearing and how dressy they should be. And most of the advice was like, wear whatever you're comfortable in. There'll be people in everything. And I felt like there were people that were more casual than us. There were definitely people that were dressier, but we felt happy with
But the truth is, for anyone listening, that you can do whatever you want to do. It's your vacation.
Yes. And I don't think that you would feel out of place. We're not super dressy people. That wouldn't be an enjoyable thing for anyone in my family. Nobody would be like, oh, it really gives me so much pleasure to dress up really fancy. I was like, I want everyone to dress nicer, good, but we're not go all out. And it was great.
It can be a great night for family photos.
Yes. So what we did was I sent my husband to get in line for Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Finished getting ready and getting the kids ready. And then we all went and got a picture with Mickey in our nicer clothes.
That's another great photo op idea, is with the characters. Oh, wait, and Miss Mickey dressed up.
What was he wearing that night? I don't remember. I'll have to look at the photos.
I'm gonna make a guess that Mickey was dressed up.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Like a little tux jacket or something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to look because I honestly don't remember. The characters were sometimes in their 25th anniversary outfits, which are like teal sequiny. So I know when we met Minnie, I think she was in that. But yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the photos. Or are you going to want me to send some photos? I'll try and find that one maybe to send.
And that would be.
And they had all these, I don't know if they do this every cruise, but they had all these like stations in the HMT where they had just like backdrops where you could get photos. The lines for that were long. So we just got the Mickey photo. Then we went to our dinner that night was Animator's Palette, which I think was my favorite of the restaurants. Because I think it was like maybe the most Disney. And they did the crush talk thing, and we were the table like in front. So he talked to my husband, which was fun. And yeah, that was good.
At the risk of overusing the word, it's the most magical.
Yes. But I think people who listen to this podcast are a bit of the suckers for the magical, right?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for it too. So if you're into that, definitely don't miss your 2 nights that are in that dining room.
Yes. So the night before, we'd missed the Royal Palace, which I was fine with. So like it worked out well for our dining rotations. How it was total coincidence, but it worked out well the nights that we missed dinner.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, because you probably had some idea that you were going to miss dinner. And when you boarded the ship that day, it told you what your rotation was. So if it wasn't what you wanted because of the nights you had missed, you could request it to be changed if you needed to.
Oh, I didn't actually know that I could, but yeah, that is a good point. I could have. Or I guess we had a couple of things booked for the evenings, and so I could end up canceling based on what the dinner plans were.
Yeah.
And after that, we went to the family game show. Charlotte and I we were big volunteers for things. We were like the people in the crowd with our hands up, screaming and hollering to be in the shows, but we did not do well at that show. The one where they ask you questions about the other person, we did not do well. I also made the mistake of, they asked who her favorite Marvel character was. And I was like, I don't know, Wonder Woman, which apparently is not a different character at all.
What did she say?
Scarlet Witch. We're not really into the Marvel as of yet. I think we're going there, but up until this point, it's been a little too scary, like the kind of physical violence of it for our family. So I think we'll get there, but we're not big fans yet. Anyway, so we did that. That was great. It was a lot of fun. And then we went to the Beauty and the Beast show. My youngest did not want to go to the Beauty and the Beast show. I don't know. He was hanging out with my husband. They did something. I'm not. Oh, they went to play shuffleboard. That's what they did. Charlotte and I went to Beauty and the Beast. I thought it was lovely. I actually really liked that whole interpretation. I liked that telling of the story. I liked how they focused a bit more on the relationship between Beauty and the Beast and the library. And yeah, I thought it was really sweet.
I think the show versions are much more interesting than the movies in some cases.
Yes. And I thought it was a very good interpretation. And I thought that acting was really good. And especially like the sets, like how they did it. I was very impressed with the sets and the backdrops and everything, considering that they were doing this all in a boat. I thought it was great. And so at this point, I had noticed that we'd had an excursion booked for the next day that was supposed to be at 2:00 was what I had booked it. And I noticed they were showing up in the app at 12:45. So I went to go to the port excursions desk to ask about that, and it was closed. So I went to guest services, which is where it said to go if port excursions was closed. And they were just, oh, vaguely, sometimes that happens. Like, it's probably just something, just go at that time. And then literally I walked up to my room and there's a letter on our door. And it says, oh, all the port excursions for Skolden are canceled.
All port excursions.
Okay, the only port excursion that went was 12 people on a rib boat. And even that was supposed to be a rib boat with a hike, and I think they downgraded it just to a rib boat. Which was, I thought, just a little bit funny too, that I'm like, I think you knew about this when I was asking you. Because obviously it's a big thing for them to cancel every excursion. Like, I can't, so it's just funny to me that they didn't tell me. I guess they just didn't want people to be grumpy with them down there. And they're like, just go back to your room and read the letter.
They're just delaying it.
Yeah, like, just go back and find out about it, not in front of us, so that you're not grumpy with us. Which I wouldn't have been, but that's fine. Yeah, there's all kinds of rumors abounding about why that was, but the note said, oh, they weren't able to get buses and staff. But yeah.
So what did you do in Golden?
So what we did was the dock time was 10:00. So we had breakfast. We got down to the HM around 9:45. Debarkation was supposed to be 10. This was another day where it was like chaos. And they kept saying, well, I guess you're supposed to wait in the atrium until they announce where the debarkation is going to be. But it was taking a bit longer. This was the first time in the port. I think it took longer for them to figure out where they were going to connect, and there was an issue. So it was probably like 10:20 before they made the announcement. And by that point, there's so many people crammed in that nobody could hear the announcement. And then everybody started trying to get in line, but then people were coming down the elevators and cutting people in line that had been waiting for 20 or 30 minutes by that point to get off. And it was all a bit kind of un-Disney. But then we got off until 10:40. So what they said was that they made shuttles to a waterfall viewpoint that was like a less than 10-minute drive.
For everyone?
They said, so people that had excursions that were canceled got priority. So between 10 and 12:30, you were allowed to take the shuttle if you had an excursion canceled, and then the rest of the time they were open to everybody. What I don't really understand is if they canceled all the excursions because they didn't have buses, how they had all these buses to shuttle people to this waterfall.
Yeah, could it not have just taken you where you wanted to go in the first place?
That's kind of what my thought was, but I don't know, right? There was all sorts of, oh, there's a strike, or there's this, or there's that, or who knows. We were supposed to be going to see like an old heritage church.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up having a really good day. We took the shuttle bus to the waterfall. We looked around, and then we took the bus back. We asked the driver. He dropped us in town. We had been planning to do a hike to the viewpoint in town anyway. So that's what we did. We just did the hike up to the viewpoints. Lots of people from the cruise were doing the same thing. It was a beautiful viewpoint. That's definitely one of the pictures I'll send you. And then we hiked back, and we ended up just being like, you know what, let's just go back to the ship. The kids at this point were like, why do we have to leave the ship? Because we came to see Norway. And we're like, but there's so many fun things on the ship. So I was like, great. We did our hike. I was happy. We went back to the ship. We had lunch on the ship, like a late lunch on the ship. And that was good. There was a bit of a line to get back on the ship, like 15 minutes, but I think later it went up to 30 to 40 people were sitting on board. So they were, even the staff, even the cast members were making fun of the line. Like, they made some comment in one of the game shows later that night about there being really long lines and it being a bit of a mess. So that kind of made me think that wasn't normally how things were. Yeah, so like, it was a beautiful, cute, small town. It felt like the cruise descended like a mob, and then you really didn't enjoy the sort of tranquility and slow pace of this little village because there was so many other people. There was lineups to get in the little grocery store, and it's kind of just
because you tripled the population when the ship arrived.
Yes, but it was beautiful. So yeah, so we got back on the ship, had a late lunch. My daughter wanted to go swimming. My son wanted to play mini golf. My husband and I played mini golf with him. We went and we played Frozen Phrases, which was really fun. My daughter and I won that. We finally got a prize. We kept winning games that didn't have prizes. So we finally got a prize. We got a Disney Cruise Line hat, which is very exciting. We did some more midship detective agency. We did some duck hunting. We ordered room service for the kids for dinner. They just wanted pizza. My husband and I had Palo this night. So we ordered room service for them. And then we were going to try and go see Stitch. And we got there 15 minutes early, and no exaggeration or joke, there was like literally probably 75 to 100 parties in front of us. The lineup was like around and back and through and over. It was crazy. So we didn't wait. But in general, a lot of people had said, oh, if you love characters, a cruise is great. They're so available and the lineups are lower. This was not our experience on this cruise. And lots of other people who had been on cruises before were commenting that it was very different. And even one of the cast members were saying, she's like, I've never seen it like this. Is crazy. Like every character had long lines. We'd get there 10 or 15 minutes early and we'd still be 15 people. There'd be a 15-person line by that point.
That's so strange, because usually it varies. Like super popular characters will have the long lines, but most of them will be short.
Yeah.
That's weird that you had 75 groups.
It was crazy. We were like, we don't really need to see Stitch that much. I like pointed out to my kids this photo of them on my phone, which is a photo of them seeing Stitch in Awani. We've seen them. Anyways, so we ended up meeting him later, spoiler alert, but we did not wait at that point. And then we took the kids to the kids club, and my husband and I went to Palo dinner. It was lovely. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, our server was excellent. I think her name was Elizabeth. She was lovely. One of those people that sometimes it can feel very forced, or like people are being nice to you because they want a good tip, or like she just felt like such a genuinely nice and lovely human being, and was like talking with us and talking about the menu. And she was fabulous. Like the service was excellent. The food was very good. We timed it perfectly. Again, it was a total coincidence. I can't take credit for it, but we basically had our dinner because the all on board time was 4:45. And I think our dinner was 6. So we were basically like sailing out of the fjords the whole time we were having dinner. So we had like gorgeous views of all of that. It was great.
Yeah, that's a good tip for cruises that have views like that. You can
it was
see it from your dining table.
Yeah, but definitely like it was much better than if we'd done it a night when the time was 8 o'clock and we would have just been sitting in the same spot, because we basically see all these little villages and waterfalls and everything going by while we just sat there and had a lovely dinner.
Great.
And then we were going to go and get some hot chocolate and go to the deck with our kids, but it was raining, so we just got the kids some sort of second dinner and then went back to the room and played some cards and stuff, and it wasn't really an early night, but an earlier night.
The next day was another port day in Norway.
Yes. So we had an early wake up that morning, got 6:30. We went for breakfast. We went down. Debarkation was supposed to be 8. We went down at 7:50. Again, it was a bit of chaos. We saw some kind of unfortunate guests yelling at each other and you're budgeting and like, you're coming in front of my children. How dare you? Kind of drama that was unfortunate, but they got off on time and we got off the ship quick. Like once 8 o'clock hit, they started getting people off and it all went a bit smoother. And we rented a car that day and it was literally like the easiest thing ever. The fjord guiding place was like immediately as you got off the ship, they had the car like sitting there waiting for us, like all by itself. They were basically like, sign your name here and leave.
Nice.
They had a post receipt for us, so it was great. And they drive on the same side of the road there as here. So it was much easier for my husband to navigate driving. So we had rented the car because I wanted to do basically 2 of the Disney excursions, which we had time for. It's just we didn't if we did them through Disney. So we drove to the Rickstall Glacier, which was one of the Disney cruise excursions. We beat the buses there, which was great. And then they have like, you can take troll cars up to the glacier or you can hike. And we hadn't booked the troll cars. We wanted to hike. And then it ended up being rainy and regretted not having booked the troll cars, but it ended up being great. I'm glad we hiked. It's about 5K, so about 3 miles, like there and back. There, it's quite a bit uphill, but like in Norway, it's classified as an easy hike. At home here, it would probably be like more of a moderate hike because it's a bit uphill, but my kids are way more than capable of doing that. They were a little grown. My daughter was a little grumpy for part of it, but she got over it, which was great. She recovered. It was beautiful. It only drizzled, so it could have been a lot worse weather-wise. The glacier was beautiful. You walk on this bridge past this like beautiful waterfall that was flowing very heavily, so you actually get soaked when you walk across the bridge. The waterfall was more than any of the rain. But we did that, and then it was more crowded coming back. We saw lots of Disney people going up as we were hiking back, and Disney people riding the troll car. So I'm not actually sure if you did the Disney excursion, if it included the troll car, or if you had to book that on your own separately and it only included the transport, because there were definitely people doing both. And then we started driving back, and on the way back, there's a skylift called the Lowen Skylift, and it's the steepest gondola in the world. It's a bit different though. There's only 2 cars, so there's one on each side, which is different from this like gondolas we're used to here, like in Banff or Whistler or whatever. It's very short, but it's very steep, and then you have beautiful views at the top, like looking down into all the fjords. We ended up a little bit pressed for time. That would be my biggest complaint with the finish time of being back on the boat. Felt like everything was a bit rushed. You didn't just have quite enough time or as much time as you'd like. But we booked a reservation at the restaurant up there for lunch. We didn't need a reservation, but we had a good lunch, and it was drizzly and cloudy, so it was just nice to look around for a bit. And then we took the gondola back down. I didn't realize, just because it's different than what we're used to here, where the gondola kind of just goes continuously. This one was like, oh no, we go up at 2 and we come back like at every half an hour. So you had to actually catch the gondola as opposed to just a constant loading thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our gondolas here are more like the Skyliner, where it's just get on and go. But it was beautiful, and I'm glad we did it. And then we had plenty of time to get back. We got some gas successfully in Norway to fill up the rental car, and we returned the rental car. We got back like just after 3, like 3:05, and it was supposed to get on at 4. So there was like a souvenir shop there. We poked around for a few minutes, and then we got back on board. So we got to do 2 excursions.
Sounds like that was a good plan, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, I was really happy that we did that. I found that I like having a bit more control, and I don't necessarily like doing things with a group of 50 other people. Like I was listening to the podcast today about the Enneagrams,
Mm-hmm.
which is because I did my test again, and I'm like a 1 wing 9, but I really am a 3 in so many ways. Like, I'm so about efficiency, and things that are inefficient drive me crazy.
It's the one area I have to watch my patients more than any other. Don't waste my time.
So that's what I like. That's the things that drive me crazy, are like the inefficiency of getting off the ship, and like the chaos, or like the inefficiency of, oh, well, we got to do this tour bus and we got to wait for everyone to get in, like that kind of stuff. I'm like, no, I can just go and I can get this and I can do it myself, and it will be better and it will be more efficient, and I'll get to do everything and fit it all in.
If you remember from the Alaskan cruise that we did, the thing that drove me the most crazy was the excursion that I felt wasted my time.
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot believe anyone would put anyone through this. But anyway, you optimize your time.
Yes. So we got back on. My daughter took a nap. My son went to the kids club for a bit. We had dinner. We went to go to the color dance, the new show. It's like the Mickey's Color Dance Party, which again is like one of those things that it's just, that's what Disney does. That's what Disney is great at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, it started to rain halfway through and they cut it off, but it was a cute show. I wish we could have seen all of it. They did it again, actually, another day inside in the atrium, but we didn't realize they were going to do it again. And it was so crowded that we didn't get there early, and we just happened upon it and we didn't stay and watch it. And then, yeah, my daughter had taken a nap when we came back because she wanted to go watch the new Haunted Mansion movie, which is what they did for the show, that because it was so long, 7 nights, they did there wasn't a major show every night. So they did the Haunted Mansion movie in the theater. So we went and watched that. And my son went to bed early because he had a nap.
That's a fun thing to do. Watch a Disney movie on a Disney ship.
Yeah. it was good. She enjoyed it so much. She took my husband another day.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that was that. So then the next day we had another port day.
Which is called Majarvik.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. The main town is Stavanger. So it looks like Stavanger, but it's Stavanger, I think is how we pronounce it.
You had a little more time in this port than you've had previously.
Yes, it was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up letting my daughter sleep in a bit because the movie had been quite late the night before, which ended up working. This was our best debarkation. So we basically went down for debarkation at 8:20 and got off 0 lines, 0 issues. In retrospect, I'm like, we should have done this every time. Maybe not in Nordfjord when we had gotten the car and wanted to go, but like in Schulden, and like there was no need for us to be trying to get off the ship exactly when debarkation was. If you don't have like time planned and you're in a port where everyone's trying to get off, leave it a little bit later. It was much better. So this was another thing that was frustrating. So the Mekjarvik is like a industrial port 20 minutes outside of Stavanger. And there is a port directly in Stavanger. There was another big cruise ship in that port. So I guess Disney got this other one. But for months in the Facebook group before, everyone's talking about how are we going to get into Stavanger? And I had actually booked a taxi because someone had posted that, and that was fine. But then the night before, Disney announces, we're going to have shuttle buses into Stavanger. But people had been calling or asking, and they hadn't confirmed any of it before. So it's just frustrating. So we ended up canceling the taxi. We took the tour bus, or the bus. That was great. We got there around 9. And we had a rib boat booked at 10. So we just walked through the streets. There's like a famous colorful street where all the buildings are different colors. We got some Norwegian pastries, chocolate bread, and some things to try. And then we went for our rib boat tour, which everyone really loved. They put you in these big suits. They're like these warm, thick, they're almost like snowsuits, water suits. And you basically sit on these small inflatable boats that skim along the water, and you sit on a seat where your legs are on either side and there's somebody to hold on in front of you. It goes really fast. It goes, he said 105 kilometers an hour. Again, sorry, I don't know what that is in miles.
I can do it. It's 65 miles an hour. That is really fast.
Yeah. So like eye-watering, like my daughter insisted that we sit in the very front. And I don't know, Pulpit Rock is like a very famous rock and hike in this area. So that was one of the options for excursions, but it was 12 and over. So the boat went to the underside of it. So you could look at it from the bottom, which was cool. And there's waterfalls, and we saw seal and lots of birds, and it was nice to be like on the water. It was great. It was a good choice. Everyone enjoyed it. Good. And then we had lunch in the marina when we got back, and then we took a walk through Old Town. There was like a cruise ship protest when we were in town, which was like a little bit awkward. Yeah. So that was a bit like when you were walking through Old Town, there was all kinds of signs being like, tourists are welcome, but say no to cruise ships and things. And people had covered up their like plants and stuff with sheets, I think, because they like didn't want people like taking pictures of their beautiful roses and stuff. But like where Old Town is like on the side, and the other cruise ship is parked directly in front of them. So I'm not sure if they really objected to the Disney cruise that was docked in the industrial port. Like, if you lived here, it was like the people on the cruise ship would be like looking into your yard and looking into your house. It was very close. I don't know. I wasn't sure to feel about it.
It's so interesting because some towns, some ports have that vibe, and others are like so excited to see you because that's how they make their money. And
yeah, so we had a lot of interesting discussions in our family about like tourism and money and privacy and different cities might feel differently and environmental impact and all of this. So we had some good discussion about all of that. And then, we ended up going for the shuttle, just going and taking the shuttle back. And then, we had planned on being there a little bit longer. Like I had a bunch of options to do. There was like a beach that you could have taken the bus to, or like an Uber to, or like I had another hike that they would have required like more transport, like an Uber or a taxi and things. And the weather was like good that day. It wasn't raining, but it wasn't particularly warm. It was only like 16 or 17 again. So I was like, the beach doesn't really make that much sense. Like, we live on the ocean here, so you can't go in, or it's not that warm. Like, so we decided to just head back in the afternoon. So we took the shuttle back. And my youngest went to the kids club. My daughter and I did some reading. We did one more ride on the aqueduct. We did some more hot tub. And then we went to try and meet Stitch again. So at 4:40, we went to the lobby. I went to the lobby for a 5:15 Stitch meet. And they were like, oh, there's no line for Stitch yet. But then there were so many people in the line. So many people they were like, wait to the side. And then so many people were waiting to the side. And then one lady up behind me was like, we are making a line because everyone's going to come and budge in front of us. So she like made a line, and then everyone made an unofficial line. And then they came and joined us to the official line once they decided it was time enough. It was silly, but
it is. The cast members need to make sure that there's a starting point so everyone knows where to go.
I think that's the thing. If there's a line, people don't mind waiting, but it's frustrating when you're like, oh, just wait in this area and then we'll announce when it's time. And then it's frustrating when you're like, oh, I've been waiting for 20 minutes, but then somebody just comes and joins in. And they're not really doing anything wrong, but I'm not really. It's just
exactly.
You can wait in it or not.
If it's first come, first serve, I need to know where first starts.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we did that, met Stitch, we met Chip and Dale, then we went for dinner at Animator's Palette again, and they did the animation thing, which was really fun. And then the kids went to play Foursquare in the kids club because they thought that game was fun. So that was on the schedule. And then we went to the adult deck for a little bit. And then we went back to the room around 9.
So you had Remy booked this night, but it sounds like you canceled that, but you had Paolo the couple nights before.
Yes, sorry, we did cancel it. We knew we only wanted to do one adult dining. And Paolo was a lot cheaper. This was already quite an expensive trip. And my husband's like, I would classify myself as a foodie, but my husband is definitely not. So spending a lot of money on a dining experience for him just isn't a great value. Like, he'll happily do it because he knows I like to, but it's not a great value. So
sounds like Paolo worked out well for you.
Yeah, it was great. We had a great experience.
And you got to do Animator's Palette, which I like the way that it worked out for you.
Yes. And it was a better day to go when we went to Paolo because we were sailing out for the fjords, whereas we were parked basically at a industrial shipyard. Looking out, all you saw was like rusted metal. You had
those views. You didn't miss out on Animator's Palette. Perfect.
Yeah.
The next day was a day at sea, and you had some very princessy things on the plan.
Yes, we did all the things. So we had the Royal Gathering booked at 9. My daughter slept in a bit, so we just went straight there. Well, the rest of us went for breakfast, then we came back and got her, and we went to do the Royal Gathering. We coerced my son into doing the Royal Gathering and getting some princess photos. And that was quick, getting good and well organized and exactly what I would expect. And then we took my daughter to eat, and my son went back to the kids club. And we did a last aqueduct ride and a hot tub. And then at 10:45, we went to Disney Sidekick trivia. We did not succeed at winning at any trivia.
Very competitive.
Yes. As I said to my husband, if you put me in a room of average people, I'll know a lot more about Disney than most. But if you put me in a room of people on a Disney cruise who chose to come to Disney trivia, I'm not quite to that level. But we had fun playing every time we played. And then my daughter had Bippity Boppity Boutique at 11:30. It's funny. She was like in shorts and like fleece. And I'm like, oh, do you want to put on a dress before we go or anything? She's like, no, I'm happy. So she got her like full princess makeover, like her jean shorts and her fleece. And she was eyeing up the dresses a little bit. And I was like, do you want to try a dress? Well, if you're 10-year-old, maybe you take that opportunity. So I was like, we can try on the dresses. Sure. Great. Let's do it. She didn't end up finding one she liked. She really liked the Jasmine, and the Ariel, but they both showed a lot of stomach, which wasn't something that she wanted. So we didn't end up getting a dress, but she got her makeover and she loved it and thought it was really fun and said she was really glad she did it. It was one of her favorite things. And her fairy godmother was lovely, also from Canada. So that was nice. Oh, from fairy godmother land, but via Canada. Yeah, so we did that, and I had been able to book my son the sports simulator for 12. So I booked that when we got on board. So he went with my husband and did the sports simulator, which he also thought was really fun. And then we had lunch. And then my daughter dragged my husband back to the Haunted Mansion because she liked it so much. She wanted to go see it again. My son wanted to go to the kids club. So I said, sure. And then I went up to the adult deck and read and napped on the deck a little bit. And he did some kids club. And then I picked him up and we did a bit more midship detective agency. And then at 3:00, we all met for Disney Tunes trivia. And then we did a bit more midship detective agency. And then at 4:15, we had to go McDonald again. We did all the things. We had to do all the things, which is generally how our family vacations. We're busy. And then we went back to the room. This was semi-formal night. So we went back to shower and get ready and do some packing and all that kind of stuff. So we were back at the Enchanted Garden that night for semi-formal, which we dressed almost the same as formal. The thing my husband only wore shorts. My son might have worn shorts too, with a dress shirt and a belt. And we did the Minnie meet this night where we were dressed up and got pictures with Minnie.
Mickey the first time,
Yeah.
formal night, Minnie this night.
Yes. So same thing. I sent my husband to get in line for Minnie while we were finishing up. And then we went down and him and got photos lined up real long for that again. And then we had dinner, which was, pretty good. It was overall the same. I don't know if they always do this. They had usually on the menu some kind of regionally inspired dishes. So there was some kind of Norwegian-ish things. I'm not sure how authentic they were, but yeah, it was good. And we had promised my kids they could go to Vanellope's and we just hadn't gotten there. So we went to Vanellope's, but we had just had dessert. So I was like, okay, let's buy something that we can take off and have tomorrow when we're traveling. But of course, they were sold out of almost all those things. So we ended up getting them ice cream and we had freaking dessert because it's vacation. And then I went to Shutters to look at the photos because you have to do that before you leave the cruise ship, I think, which is different than a Disney World or a Disneyland vacation when you can do it later. But then obviously you want to wait till the end when you've had most of the photos taken. So I went and did that. I picked the package where it was 20 photos for $250.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. That's how they sucker you in, right? So yeah, so we did that. And then we all went to the Believe show. This was the first show that we all seen together because my husband skipped the Golden Mickeys and my husband and son skipped Beauty and the Beast. So I said, everyone's going to Believe. We all went to Believe. It was good. We enjoyed it. It was very crowded. We got there 15 minutes early. We got the last 4 seats in the very back row. Maybe go a little bit earlier. We did some gift shopping. We had to finish our midship detective agency cases. And then we went to bed.
And the next day you were disembarking and flying home. Did you do anything before you left the ship?
No, we woke up at 6:15. Clocks went back an hour, so it wasn't as bad. We did express walk-off, so we went to Cabanas for breakfast. We were down in the lobby at 7:10. There was a decent line. We got on the line. We left. They let people off starting at 7:25. We walked off, went through everything. We had booked the port travel to Heathrow in advance, through Disney Cruise. So we got on a bus to Heathrow. We ended up getting to Heathrow at 9:15.
Early.
And
how long did that take to go there on the bus?
so our bus left at 7:50 and we were off the bus in the airport at 9:15.
Hour and a half.
Yeah. Now they had said that the earliest flight you should book was 2:20 and ours was actually 2:10. So I was a bit worried about time, which is why I was like, we're going to do the express walk-off. We're going to get on because I had asked at the customer service or guest services because I didn't know how any of this worked. And it wasn't really in the app, how you took the bus or anything that I could find. So they said basically it's just revolving. When one bus is full, they'll send it. So if you want to get there soon, just get off as quickly as possible and you'll get on one of the earlier buses. So we did that. But obviously we were at the airport 5 hours before. No, yeah, 5 hours before our flight left. So we had lots of time. Something could happen, right? Traffic. They obviously want to leave a huge buffer because they don't want to tell people you can make the flights and have them not make it. So we had lots of time. So we just hung out at the airport, did some shopping, got lunch, and then got on the plane and flew home. And then the time changed. We left London at 2:10, and when we landed in Vancouver, it was only 3:45 Vancouver time.
Confusing.
Yeah, that was very late. By the time we got home, it was 6:30, which was 2:30 in the morning, the time my kids were used to. Everyone was late, but yeah, so it was great.
And now you're having to adjust. So, overall thoughts on your first cruise, but also obviously your first Disney cruise.
So I would say, I really liked Disney cruise. My kids really liked the Disney cruise. They really want to do another one. My husband thought that he expected a little more for the price we paid. I think like some of the things annoyed him a bit more, like the chaos and the lines and the canceled excursions and just some things like the beverage carts weren't very well stocked. Like they'd always be out of the kind of tea I wanted, or they'd be out of lids, or they'd be out of cups and cabanas. And like, I'm a huge Disney fan, so I'm like, it's all great. I don't care. It's fine. Whereas I think he was like a bit more annoyed by some of that stuff for the price that we paid, I think I'm really glad that we did this trip as a way to do our first overseas trip. I think if anyone is thinking about doing an overseas trip, like the ages our kids are at, they did really great. It was a great experience. Like we all said we want to do another trip, like maybe Greece, Italy. Costa Rica is different, but we've been thinking about that, or Iceland. Like we have lots of all kinds of, and like London was a great choice because it was easy. The language was the same. It was very easy to plan. It was very easy to execute. I'm really glad we didn't do a tour. Like after listening to the trip report about the Adventures by Disney, I don't think I would have been happy with that at all. Not at all, but I much more enjoyed being able to do our own thing and have some flexibility and pick and choose the things that we wanted to do and work it around our schedule. If that makes sense. And
You like having a bit of control over your day.
yes, my husband would say I like having a lot of control. That's okay. I know that about myself. So I am really happy we did it that way. I'm glad that we did the cruise. I don't think it's how I would choose to tour a country that I really want to tour again necessarily. Because I felt like the port times were limited and there wasn't enough, maybe that's it, control over being able to do exactly what we wanted to do, or do as much or as little, or stay a bit longer, or that kind of thing. And I think that there was so much on the cruise that my kids were like, who cares about Norway? Let's go back to the cruise ship, which is great that they liked it so much. But I think we will, when we do another Disney cruise, because we booked a placeholder, I'd probably do the Caribbean.
That's what I was going to say. You are on the ship so much more, and Castaway Cay is there, which just feels like an extension of the ship.
Yes. And I think even if you do a longer one and have excursions in other ports, like it's more go on a catamaran where you're like, this is your time that you have on the boat. It's not like going to a city and not having enough time to see things and stuff. I think knowing that we were really able to easily navigate luggage and travel and trains and doing all of that on our own. Next, if we go to Italy, I would just go to Italy and do what we wanted to do on our own. I think I would consider a cruise maybe for something that's really water-based like Greece or Alaska. Alaska is still one we'd want to do, and I think a cruise works great for that.
And you don't have much of a commute to board that ship.
Exactly. Yeah. So taking off the flight cost is huge. So I think that, yeah, I think like overall we liked it. I don't know that I would do this specific thing again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think cruises are great for either spending a lot of time in the ship, like you've mentioned, or sampling places. But it can be frustrating, as you experienced, if there's only a short amount of time. But there's a whole Amsterdam out there.
Right.
There's so much going on.
Or if you don't have as much control, like they change the port, or like they cancel all the excursions one day, or things like that. That can be a bit, or even just if you go to a city, even if you're only there for 2 days, you have some flexibility. If it's pouring rain one morning, to be like, oh, I'm going to switch and do an inside plan, or delay things by an hour or two, that you don't really have that flexibility if you're on a cruise ship with a really finite timeline. Yeah. So I think it worked great. I think we wouldn't have been able to see that much because it would have been too much like packing and unpacking and moving all this time. So it was great to sample all of that. Like I was really happy on the ship to be like, we're unpacked and all the luggage is there and we're not repacking and moving and stuff. That was a really great option. So I think there's pluses and minuses. Depends on like how your family likes to travel, how comfortable you are navigating some of these things independently. Like some people, I think, maybe are more or less comfortable in a country where English isn't the first language and that kind of stuff. So I think it's a great option if you're less wanting to take on your own planning and your own organizing kind of thing.
I think you're the third person in the last few months I've had that had 2 kids in about the same age range, and everyone did it a little bit differently. So there was the ABD that you mentioned, where they went to London and Paris, and then there was the Japan one. And they had ended up doing that on their own and DIYing it. And it's just 3 different approaches, 3 different ways to do it, but all the kids did great. Yes. And so I think that's really cool as a way to maybe get them started international travel.
Yeah, I would say I would strongly encourage people, if you're thinking about it, to just to do it, because I think it's a great experience for your kids. Like my kids, like I said, they're super excited. They both were like, where can we go next? What can we plan? What can we see? It just opens up a whole other world. And London, I think, is good for that, like, or England. If you want an easy first international trip, it's very easy. Anybody who can plan a Disney World trip can figure that out. It's not a lot. So I think it's a good stepping stone to then, we know it works for us. So next time we'll do something a bit more maybe, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to listen to. I appreciate you taking the time. It was a lot of notes to keep for such a long trip. So thank you.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. I'm so grateful that you'll let me come on and share all of this information. Hopefully it helps somebody.
Yes, I'm sure it will. Thank you.
Thanks.
And that was my chat with Aleisha. I hope you learned something, especially if you're considering international travel with kids and or a Disney cruise. Always interesting to hear about all the different itineraries. That will wrap up this episode of WW Preps to Go. For more information on this episode, you can always check the show notes in your podcast app or go to the website www.prepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top and scroll down to episode 374. Until next time, I will see you on the site.